When school ended in the evening, the students all walked out, ready to go home. Tomorrow was the exam, and they knew they would be cramming one last time tonight. Tang Ji walked alone on the road home. She was already used to walking this kind of road at night. The streets were brightly lit with plenty of people coming and going, so she had nothing to worry about. After passing a corner, Tang Ji frowned in surprise. As she had just walked past, her peripheral vision seemed to catch sight of someone. Quick, follow her. Chill, keep it down. A few seconds later, two people trotted over and turned the corner, only to see the road ahead was completely empty. We lost her. The two were Lu Yunxua and Tang Yining. As soon as school was out, they had been following Tang Ji. They knew they wouldn't have a chance to get close to Tang Ji at school or ask her anything, so they had agreed to follow her together after school in the evening and make her talk about what was going on between her and Yimengran. But when they saw Tang Ji turn the corner and immediately followed, they couldn't find any sign of her. This was such a bad idea. Why didn't we just stop her at the school gate? Tang Yining glared at Lu Yunxua. She hadn't wanted to come in the first place. It was late at night, and she didn't want to be with Lu Yunxua. It would be bad if other people saw them and started gossiping. But then she thought that she would have to talk to Tang Ji sooner or later, and if she had a conflict with Tang Ji alone, she definitely wouldn't be her match. So she agreed to Lu Yunshua's plan to come and question Tang Ji together. At least with a boy by her side, she wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Nonsense. There were so many people after school. How could we stop her? Besides, Yin Mingran and Zhou Heng were there, so there was no opportunity. Lu Yunxua was unwilling to give up. He walked into the alley ahead, searching for Tang Ji. This street was so long, there was no reason they should have lost her. Did Tang Ji suddenly run? They weren't following too closely, and they were always watching Tang Ji ahead of them. She never looked back, so there was no way she could have discovered them. I think we should just forget it. I'll go find her myself tomorrow. Tang Yining had already given up. She felt that coming along was a mistake. She could have just not confronted Tang Ji at all. She could have talked to Yin Mingran alone and had her explain the situation. But Lu Yunxua insisted on finding Tang Ji, saying he had to get a clear answer. With his one-track mind, he would probably start a fight if he couldn't get a straight answer. Seeing that Tang Yining was about to leave, Lu Yunxua immediately tried to stop her. Don't go. What about our alliance? What am I supposed to do if you leave? Who said anything about an alliance with you? Honestly. Swoosh. Just as the two were talking, something suddenly flew over their heads and smashed directly into a passerby who happened to be walking by. Smack! Ow! Hiss! A man was hit squarely on the head by the object. It wasn't large, just like being flicked on the forehead, but it hurt enough to make him grimace. Tang Yining and Lu Yunxua heard the sound and looked towards the man. The man, rubbing his head, happened to see the two of them. He frowned, glared angrily, and stormed over to them. Which one of you threw that? Throwing things around on the street? Is that how your parents taught you? No. Threw what? We didn't throw anything. Lu Yunxua backed away repeatedly, holding up his hands and shaking his head, looking completely bewildered. Still pretending? There's no one else here but you two. It was you who threw it, right? Huh. What do we throw? We really didn't throw anything. Lu Yunxua almost lost his footing, tripping over a stone on the ground. He felt utterly baffled, wondering if this man was crazy. Seeing that things were not looking good, Tang Yining prepared to slip away. She said to Lu Yunxua, I'm going home now. My mom will be worried soon. After saying that, she turned and left as if afraid of getting into any trouble. She didn't feel that Lu Yunxua was unlucky. On the contrary, she felt she was the unlucky one. If she had known, she wouldn't have come. It would have been much better to just go home obediently. Hey, Tang Yining, don't go. Don't leave me here alone. No matter how much Lu Yunxua yelled, Tang Yining didn't look back, acting as if she didn't know him at all. Lu Yunxua wanted to run too, but he was grabbed by the man as soon as he took a step. He was at a loss for words. He clearly hadn't done anything. Was this his retribution for stalking a female classmate? After running about a dozen steps, Tang Yining thought about turning back to check on Lu Yunxua, but just as she turned her head, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and grabbed her arm. Before she could react, she was pulled into a small alley by the hand. Just as she was about to scream in fright, a lollipop was stuffed into her mouth, silencing her. Tang Yining's eyes widened as she looked at the person in front of her. It was Tang Ji, the one they had lost. The fact that Tang Ji had pulled her here meant that Tang Ji had already discovered that she and Lu Yunxua were following her. She was still in a state of shock, breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling. Looking at the calm-faced Tang Ji before her, she felt a little scared. Why were you following me? Is something the matter? Tang Ji slowly spoke, her voice soft as she inquired. I. Tong Yining was at a loss for words, caught off guard. She opened her mouth, her gaze frozen. A moment later, she thought of Yin Mingran. The whole reason she had come was to find out about Yin Mingran's situation. Wasn't this exactly what she wanted, with Tang Ji right in front of her? I just wanted to ask, what is your relationship with Yin Mingran? Also, why did she stop hanging out with me? Do you know something? Tong Yining tried to project a more imposing aura. Otherwise, she felt like she would be completely dominated by Tang Ji. She and I are just friends. As for why she's not hanging out with you, why are you asking me? Tang Ji knew the reason, but she couldn't possibly tell Tong Yining. Tong Yining frowned, looking somewhat dissatisfied. Oh, can you guarantee that you haven't been bad-mouthing me in front of her? I haven't. Tang Ji answered decisively, without any hesitation. The harshest thing she had said about Tong Yining was telling Yin Mingran she was careless in her choice of friends, and that was only after Tong Yining had cursed at her. She generally didn't talk about others behind their backs, except in special circumstances, like calling Lu Yunxuo and the others liars because they had followed Yin Mingran and lied about it. Seeing Tang Ji's straightforward reply and the complete lack of any sign of lying on her face, Tong Yining couldn't help but be stunned. Had she misunderstood? Or was Tang Ji lying? Then how did you and her become friends? Tong Yining's imposing manner weakened considerably. She was clearly the one with the louder voice, but why did she always feel that Tang Ji had a presence that was imposing without being angry? Her calm voice and expressionless face brought a great sense of pressure. Her not hanging out with you has nothing to do with me. How I became friends with her also has nothing to do with you. But I can tell you clearly, there is no causal relationship between the two. Tang Ji replied softly. Tong Yining didn't know if she was telling the truth or not, but looking at her state, it didn't seem like she was lying. Gulp. Although she had prepared a whole list of questions, she couldn't ask any of them now. It was as if she already knew what answers she would get after asking. Can I believe you? It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. After saying that, Tang Ji turned to leave. She didn't want to waste time here. Answering these few questions for Tong Yining was only out of pity for her after she had followed her for so long. Wait, one last question. Tong Yining called out to stop Tang Ji. Actually, it wasn't just about Yin Mingran that she wanted to ask Tang Ji. There was one other thing she was particularly curious about. Tang Ji paused, not turning back, listening quietly. Tong Yining lowered her head, her hands nervously fiddling with the hem of her clothes. After a moment, she asked in a very low voice, you and Zhou Hong. He's my brother. Before Tong Yining could finish, Tang Ji answered first. After replying, she left, leaving Tong Yining standing there alone, the evening breeze brushing against her cheeks. Her mouth was slightly agape, and she stood there stunned like a wooden block. She had considered many possibilities, but she really hadn't thought that their relationship was like this. For a moment, an irrepressible joy surged in her heart, as if her heart was blooming with delight. Did this mean that all her previous worries were wrong? There was no possibility of anything between Tang Ji and Zhou Hong? Damn it, I kept telling him it wasn't me. What a psycho. At that moment, Lu Yunxuo finally managed to get away and walked over. Seeing Tong Yining standing in the alley, he couldn't help but be taken aback. You didn't leave? Tong Yining came back to her senses. Seeing Lu Yunxuo standing in front of her, she felt a bit awkward. She had just abandoned him. Even if they weren't friends, they were at least classmates. It seemed a bit wrong for her to have just left like that. Lu Yunxuo clearly didn't take the matter to heart and didn't mention it again. He just straightened his messy clothes and said, All right, let's go home. What bad luck. Let's continue following her after school tomorrow. Tong Yining walked out and stood in front of Lu Yunxuo, saying, I don't think it has anything to do with Tang Ji. I think we should just leave her out of it. Lu Yunxuo was greatly surprised. He froze for a moment, spread his hands, and asked in astonishment, Huh? What? No. Why have you changed your mind? Didn't you think the same as me? That Tang Ji was the culprit. I did before, but not anymore. I think there must be another reason for Ranran's change. By the way, I haven't asked you yet. How do you think Ranran has changed? I want to see if your thoughts are the same as mine. Tong Yining touched her chin and began to think seriously. She carefully recalled Yin Mingran's differences. She felt that compared to before, she was more carefree. She used to worry about this and that, but now, it seemed like she didn't care about anything. She wanted to know if Lu Yunxuo felt the same way, which would prove that her feeling was probably right. Is there even a need to say? Of course, she's changed to not liking me anymore. She even said it in front of the whole class. How could something like this have happened before? Tong Yining looked at Lu Yunxuo, her brow tightly furrowed, her expression grave. Her brain seemed to have lost the ability to think. That single sentence had short-circuited it. She had never asked Liu Yunhua this question because she thought his feelings would be more or less the same as hers. After all, Yin Mingran's change was clearly visible on the surface. But Liu Yunhua's answer was so baffling. Wait, hold on. You mean Yin Mingran not liking you is what you think her change is? Is that it? Just that? Yeah, don't you think so? Liu Yunhua replied frankly, nodding his head very seriously. Tong Yining closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and held it in her chest. Right now, she just felt her scalp tingle, a feeling of being deceived. She had actually believed that Liu Yunhua was very concerned about Yin Mingran and could see that she had changed. Now it seemed that Liu Yunhua was truly hopeless. No wonder Yin Mingran had so resolutely said she didn't like him. Who could like someone like that? What a waste of time. Tong Yining glared at Liu Yunhua, then brushed past him and hurried away. All day today, starting from the morning, her image of Liu Yunhua had been continuously collapsing in her mind. Now Liu Yunhua was just a pile of ruins in her heart. And even ruins have different levels. He was even worse than Kong Yu, who is also ruins. Hey, what's wrong with you? Was I wrong? Seeing Tong Yining about to leave, Liu Yunhua was utterly puzzled. Wasn't it the change in Yin Mingran? What did he say wrong? He had been trapped in confusion all day. In the morning, he didn't know what was wrong with Yin Mingran when she backstabbed him. Liang Jiaxiang didn't understand him either. In the evening, he somehow lost Tang Ji, who seemed to have vanished. Then he ran into a crazy man who insisted he threw something at him. But all he saw on the ground was a lollipop and nothing else. And now Tong Yining was acting like this too, disagreeing with him. He felt like he was being targeted, that everyone was against him. What bad luck. Am I cursed by something? Why is everyone always against me? Liu Yunhua sighed helplessly, shook his head, and also left. The thought of the exam tomorrow made him even more frustrated. He had been thinking about Yin Mingran recently and had barely studied. He could clearly feel that his academic performance seemed to be declining. That night, when Tong Yining got home, she took out her phone and looked at her message list. In the past, her phone would always have many unread messages from Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran. But now, it was exceptionally quiet. The messages she sent out also received no response. She opened her chat with Zhou Hong. Even though she knew he wouldn't reply, and might not even see it, she still sent a message. Good luck on the exam tomorrow. There's actually a second way to solve this problem. Just in case, I'll teach it to you. Yin Mingran pointed to a question on the test paper, patiently explaining. But before she could begin, she heard the sound of light breathing. When she turned her head, she found that Zhou Hong was already lying on the table, his eyes closed, having fallen asleep at some point. A slight smile touched the corners of Yin Mingran's mouth, and a faint gentleness filled her eyes. Seeing Zhou Hong asleep reminded her of the experiences of the past few days. She had witnessed Zhou Heng's effort and progress. Yin Mingran could also empathize with his hard work. For this exam, Zhou Hong had put in several times more effort than others. Zhou Hong, go to your room to sleep. She gently patted Zhou Heng's shoulder and whispered in his ear. But Zhou Hong seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. A gentle pat couldn't wake him up at all. Yin Mingran wanted Zhou Hong to get a good rest. After all, he needed to be well rested before the exam. Otherwise, if he was drowsy the next day, all his efforts would be in vain. So she didn't dare to wake him up now. With his temper, he would probably continue studying after waking up. So how was she supposed to move him to the bedroom? After thinking for a long time, Yin Mingran couldn't come up with a solution. She couldn't move Zhou Heng's body on her own. Not to mention she couldn't use much strength right now. A day had passed, and she felt much better, but her body was still sore. So, she could only let Zhou Hong continue to sleep here. She brought over one of her coats and gently draped it over Zhou Heng's body. Good night. Yin Mingran sat beside Zhou Hong, also resting her arms on the table, her head turned to the side, watching his sleeping face. She didn't know what she was thinking, but it seemed she could just watch him like this all night. I wonder how long this kind of life can last. The night was very quiet. Some were already sound asleep, while others were still studying by lamplight, working hard for the aspirations in their hearts. Time slowly passed, and the night quietly slipped away. At a little after 4 a.m., a faint light had already appeared outside. Zhou Hong slowly opened his eyes. The first sensation he felt was the numbness in his arms and the soreness in his lower back. Ugh! He sat up straight and stretched, a series of cracking sounds coming from his body. Plop! The coat on Zhou Hong fell off. He looked down and couldn't help but be taken aback. He remembered that he seemed to have fallen asleep unknowingly last night. At that time, his head just felt heavy, his eyes wouldn't stay open, and he fell into a deep sleep as soon as he lay his head down. Jo-hung looked to the side and found that right beside him, In-min Gran was sleeping quietly. Her eyes were closed, and he could see her long eyelashes. He hadn't expected In-min Gran to be here with him. She could have easily gone back to the bedroom to sleep. The coat on him must be hers, but there was nothing covering her. It was still quite cold sleeping in the living room. Sleeping like this for a night, she might catch a cold. Jo-hung saw that In-min Gran was almost curled up into a ball, both hands tucked under her arms, which was enough to show she must be very cold. In-min Gran. Jo-hung whispered In-min Gran's name, wanted to wake her up, at least to have her go to her room to continue sleeping. But after calling her name several times, In-min Gran didn't wake up, still sleeping very soundly. Jo-hung knew he had been overworking himself by forgetting to eat and sleep while studying, but he had forgotten that In-min Gran was the same. Every time he studied, she would be by his side tutoring him. If he didn't sleep, she wouldn't sleep either. So In-min Gran's exhaustion was actually on par with his. Coupled with her pressure and worries, her mental fatigue was probably even greater than her physical fatigue. Jo-hung really wanted to let In-min Gran continue sleeping, as there was still time. But he definitely couldn't let her continue sleeping in the living room. Since he couldn't wake her, Jo-hung thought he would just carry her to the bedroom. As long as his movements were light enough, he probably wouldn't wake her up, right? Jo-hung stood up, looked at In-min Gran in front of him, and took a deep breath to calm his heart. Then, he bent down and gently lifted In-min Gran. However, he didn't use his hands at all, but his arms, his palms not touching In-min Gran's body. In-min Gran's eyes were still closed, which was enough to show how tired she was. A trace of guilt also appeared in Jo-hung's heart. It seemed he would have to let In-min Gran sleep more in the future. She was already very tired at school, and when she came back, she had to tutor him, so she couldn't rest well. She wasn't like him. He could sleep whenever he wanted in class, and the teachers didn't care. Jo-hung took a step and walked towards the bedroom. His steps were very light, and his arms were steady, barely causing any jolt to In-min Gran. When he walked into the bedroom and reached the bed, just as he was about to put In-min Gran down, she suddenly turned over in his arms, pressing closer to his body and wrapping her arms around his shoulders. Jo-hung stopped in his tracks, his body seeming to petrify in an instant, turning into a statue, completely motionless. His eyes looked down and saw In-min Gran in his arms. She didn't seem to have woken up. These actions seemed to be unconscious movements in her sleep. So what should he do now? With In-min Gran's arms around his shoulders, there was no way to put her on the bed. Should he wake her up now? There probably wasn't any other way. Just then, Jo-hung heard In-min Gran's faint voice coming from his embrace. Mom. Immediately after, he felt In-min Gran's arms tighten around him, as if she was afraid he would leave her. Her body was trembling slightly, and he could feel her fear and unease. Jo-hung's throat moved, and the thought of waking In-min Gran vanished from his mind. He had forgotten that although In-min Gran looked strong and open-minded on the outside, she was, after all, just a girl who was not yet mature in her parents' eyes. What Jo-hung wanted most now was for In-min Gran not to wake up, to let her sleep a little longer. Perhaps in her dreams, she could spend a little more time with her mother. Jo-hung sat down steadily on the bed, motionless, acting as In-min Gran's bed and pillow, letting her sleep soundly and peacefully in his arms. After about half an hour, Jo-hung's body was already very stiff, his arms were sore, and he was about to lose his strength, but he still didn't dare to move. There was still about half an hour until their normal wake-up time, so he had to let In-min Gran sleep for at least another half hour. 10 minutes later, In-min Gran opened her hazy eyes. At the corners of her eyes, there seemed to be tiny teardrops. Before she could figure out where she was, she heard Jo-hung's voice. Good morning. After a brief moment of stunned silence, In-min Gran slowly spoke, her voice small. Morning. Where am I? She realized she seemed to be lying in Jo-hung's arms. In her memory, wasn't she sleeping at the table? How about you get up first? My arm is about to become useless. Okay. In-min Gran hurriedly sat up from Jo-hung's arms. At this point, Jo-hung's body could finally relax. He hadn't dared to move at all just now. Even so, he felt it was worth it, a small compensation for In-min Gran. Although In-min Gran didn't know what had happened, she could guess. She figured that Jo-hung had woken up and wanted her to sleep in the bedroom. But like her, he didn't want to wake her up, so he carried her in. And then probably, he couldn't put her down. The thought that she had been sleeping in Jo-hung's arms just now made her heart beat faster. How could she have slept so soundly? It would have been so much better if she had been awake. She probably would have continued to pretend to be asleep then, to feel what it was like to lie in Zhou Heng's arms. She had already forgotten the dream she had while sleeping, but she just felt very safe and secure. Otherwise, she wouldn't have slept so well. Even a muscle soreness in her body felt much better. Zhou Heng kneaded his arm and looked at Yin Mingran, asking softly, "Did you sleep well? Do you want to sleep a bit more? It's still early." I slept well." Yin Mingran's answer was a bit flustered because it was the first time she had heard Zhou Heng speak so softly. His tone was like he had completely changed into another person. She had never seen this side of Zhou Heng or heard him speak in such a tone. Although it might sound exaggerated, Yin Mingran truly felt a bit overwhelmed by the favor. "Okay, then I'll go make breakfast." Zhou Heng nodded, then stood up to leave the bedroom. Seeing this, Yin Mingran quickly stopped him, saying, No, I should make it. You need to conserve your energy for the exam." Zhou Heng looked at Yin Mingran's serious face. He was about to refuse out of habit, but the words didn't come out. In those few seconds of silence, Zhou Heng thought about many things. Finally, he nodded gently and replied, "Okay, I'll trouble you then." Okay." Yin Mingran was stunned at first, then quickly agreed and went to the kitchen. After leaving the bedroom, she felt very strange. She had been prepared to argue with Zhou Heng, but this time, he didn't argue with her. This was so out of character for him. She just took a nap. Why did it feel like Zhou Heng had changed so much? After the two finished breakfast and tidied up, they prepared to go to school. Today and tomorrow, the 2 days of exams were extremely important for Zhou Heng. It was related to his living expenses. If he didn't do well, a large portion of his living expenses would be deducted. At that point, let alone supporting Yin Mingran, he might not even be able to support himself. So he was particularly nervous. He, who had never cared about exams before, was taking this one very seriously today. Zhou Heng put on his shoes and stood at the door, staring at the gate in a daze. He looked a bit melancholic because he still wasn't very confident. Looking at his past report cards, to move up 50 places, his total score needed to increase by at least 70 or 80 points. Those 70 or 80 points were not easy to get. Moreover, the performance of others this time might not be worse than last time. While he was working hard, others were working hard too. Just then, Yin Mingran's hand rested on Zhou Heng's shoulder, and her gentle voice sounded in his ear. "Don't worry. I know your situation best. You'll definitely be fine." "Really?" "Yes. Really. I guarantee it." Yin Mingran's eyes were full of trust and support for Zhou Heng, which gave him a lot more confidence. "Okay." Zhou Heng nodded, and he and Yin Mingran left together. At that moment, downstairs, two people had been waiting for 10 minutes. These two were Lu Yunxuo and Liang Jiaxiang. She already made it so clear she doesn't like you. Why are you at her building again? Aren't you afraid she'll say something else to hurt your feelings? Liang Jiaxiang looked at Lu Yunxuo with a helpless expression. He had been woken up early by Lu Yunxuo and forced to come out, only to find himself in this place of trouble again. He sometimes really admired Lu Yunxuo, who was like an unkillable cockroach. "You don't understand. She told me not to give her gifts anymore, so I won't, right? But I can bring her breakfast, can't I? This can't be considered a gift, right? Besides, she only said she doesn't like me. She didn't say she doesn't want to be friends with me, so I still have a chance." Lu Yunxuo smiled slightly and lifted the bag in his hand, which contained the breakfast he had bought. He had thought about it for a long time last night. From the first time he saw Yin Mingran to the first words he said to her, he remembered everything. He knew he couldn't forget Yin Mingran. He just liked her. He didn't want to give up no matter what. So, for someone as determined as him, these setbacks were nothing at all. "Really? I don't understand your thinking. Someone like you will only be honest when you see Yin Mingran with another boy." Liang Jiaxiang pointed at Lu Yunxuo and scolded him speechlessly, his expression full of complaint. He really didn't understand why a boy would be so obsessed. It's not like Yin Mingran was the only girl in the world. Why get so hung up on her? Facing Liang Jiaxiang's words, Lu Yunxuo snorted with contempt, waved his hand, and said, "Absolutely impossible. The only boy who can appear by her side can only be me. I've already chased her to her doorstep. Who could be better than me? Could someone else possibly chase her into her home?" "Well, look there." Liang Jiaxiang suddenly patted Lu Yunxuo on the back and pointed behind him. Lu Yunxuo turned around, puzzled. The sight that met his eyes almost made his heart stop. He saw Yin Mingran walking out of that building, and next to her was a boy. He was all too familiar with that boy, wasn't it? Zhou Heng. The two of them were walking and talking about something, a constant smile on Yin Mingran's face. She looked incredibly happy. Thud. The breakfast in Lu Yunxuo's hand fell to the ground, its contents spilling out. But he didn't care anymore. After seeing this scene, his heart felt like it was being squeezed, and even breathing hurt. His neck felt like it was being choked, almost suffocating him. Liang Jiaxiang touched his chin and calmly analyzed him. I'd say there's a high probability Zhou Heng stayed at Yin Mingran's place last night. And from the looks of it, it doesn't seem like the first time. Lu Yunxua clenched his fists, his eyes staring at Zhou Heng's back, filled with rage. At this moment, he completely overturned yesterday's thoughts. He had always thought Tang Ji was the obstacle between him and Yin Mingran, but now he was certain who that obstacle really was. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Hey, don't. Liang Jiaxiang immediately stopped Lu Yunxua, looking at him in disbelief. What are you doing? Are you crazy? I told you it has nothing to do with you. If you go, aren't you just looking for a scolding? How does it have nothing to do with me? I like her. Now that I see this, shouldn't I go and get a clear answer? Lu Yunxua anxiously shook off Liang Jiaxiang's arm. He was in a terrible state, his face flushed red like a cooked crab. Seeing him like this, Liang Jiaxiang knew he couldn't be persuaded. He could only advise, all right, you can ask, but remember, you're only asking out of curiosity and politeness as a classmate. Don't show any other emotions, because you don't have the corresponding status. Lu Yunxua heard Liang Jiaxiang's words but didn't respond. He just stared at him for a while, his eyes clearly showing defiance and unwillingness. In the end, he didn't answer and just chased after them. Sigh. Liang Jiaxiang sighed, a look of disappointment on his face. He shook his head and turned to leave. He didn't need to stay to imagine what the result would be. He had done all he could. He had advised and helped. He didn't owe Lu Yunxua anything. The rest had nothing to do with him. Lu Yunxua didn't take Liang Jiaxiang's words to heart at all. He couldn't think about such things right now. The thought of Zhou Heng staying at Yin Mingran's home, imagining what the two of them did together, made his heart ache. Zhou Heng, Lu Yunxua shouted, stopping the two in front of him. They paused and turned around, seeing Lu Yunxua behind them, their faces showing surprise. Yin Mingran's expression, in particular, was mixed with disgust and annoyance. Lu Yunxua walked up and stood face to face with Zhou Heng. They were about the same height, but Zhou Heng was much more muscular than Lu Yunxua. Zhou Heng, why did you come out of Yin Mingran's home? Do you live here? Yin Mingran's home? Zhou Heng looked up at the building ahead, which was in the direction of his own home. As for it being Yin Mingran's home, that wasn't exactly wrong. He did hope Yin Mingran would treat it as her own. Just as Yin Mingran was about to explain, Zhou Heng nodded and spoke first. Yeah, I live here. You. Hearing the affirmative answer, Lu Yunxua's face turned red in an instant, his eyes glaring at Zhou Heng as if they were about to shoot fire. He was so angry, yet Zhou Heng's expression didn't change at all. Lu Yunxua turned to Yin Mingran and asked, is what he said true? What are you two doing living together? What is your relationship now? Yin Mingran took a step back, caught off guard by Lu Yunxua's questions. She stammered, unable to answer. Zhou Heng, however, stepped directly in front of Yin Mingran, placing a hand on Lu Yunxua's shoulder to stop him from moving forward. Why do you have so many questions? It has nothing to do with you. There's no need to answer you. Zhou Heng said in a low voice, his face turning cold. It has nothing to do with me again. Lu Yunxua sneered, craning his neck to say to Yin Mingran, Yin Mingran, is this really okay with you? Are you really choosing Zhou Heng? How is he better than me? His grades are so bad. If you bring someone like him home, would your parents agree? They would be furious to death. When Zhou Heng heard Lu Yunxua's words, his brow furrowed tightly. It was one thing for Lu Yunxua to talk about them, but he actually brought up Yin Mingran's parents? No matter what, casually mentioning her deceased parents in front of her was going too far, right? Even though Lu Yunxua didn't know about it, he had still touched Yin Mingran's reverse scale. Sure enough, upon hearing that last sentence, Yin Mingran's face instantly turned dark and terrifyingly cold. A furious emotion appeared in her eyes, especially when she heard the word death. Her heart and body trembled slightly. Yin Mingran stepped forward and stood in front of Lu Yunxua. Lu Yunxua couldn't see that Yin Mingran's state was off. He even felt a flicker of joy, thinking that Yin Mingran had had a change of heart, realized his good qualities, and wanted to come into his arms. In the next second, Yin Mingran suddenly reached out with both hands and grabbed Lu Yunxua by the collar. The moment she looked up at him, her cold and sharp gaze instantly stunned Lu Yunxua. Lu Yunxua, let me tell you. First, this is not my home. It's Zhou Heng's home. I'm the one living in his house. Zhou Heng is better than you in every way. You're not qualified to talk about him. Second, I've already told you, I don't like you. I even despise you. If you get close to me again, I will report this and the fact that you followed me to the teachers. Third, if you dare mention my parents again, I will absolutely not let you off. At worst, we'll perish together. Yin Mingran's cold words and sharp gaze left Lu Yunxua unable to speak or move. After she finished, she pushed Lu Yunxua, sending him staggering back 2 steps, almost falling to the ground. His gaze was vacant, his whole person as if stupefied, unable to believe that the gentle and kind Yin Mingran in his heart could become like this. Yin Mingran's breathing was a bit ragged, and she looked quite angry. Seeing this from behind, Zhou Heng noticed that the tips of Yin Mingran's ears had turned red. He reached out and gently patted her shoulder, saying, "Calm down." Yin Mingran turned to look at Zhou Heng, the change in her face as quick as flipping a page. Her expression and gaze instantly softened. "Okay," she responded in a small voice, nodding. Her obedient appearance left Lu Yunxua stunned. He felt as if in the next second she would lean against Zhou Heng's embrace like a small, dependent bird. The difference in her treatment of the two of them was simply too exaggerated. He had thought that with his efforts, he still had a chance with Yin Mingran, but now, he understood. He had no chance of turning things around. He was completely crushed. "Let's go." "Okay." Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran glanced at Lu Yunxua, then ignored him and walked straight away. Lu Yunxua watched as the two gradually walked away, his heart going with them, as if he had lost his soul. "It's over. I'm completely done for. What should I do? What should I do?" "Leon." Lu Yunxua turned his head, his voice dying in his throat. Behind him, there was no one. Liang Jiaxiang had left at some point. Now, he was the only one standing here, tasting defeat like an abandoned orphan. After a while, he started walking, but the direction he took was not towards the school. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran walked down the road. Perhaps because of the unpleasant incident just now, both of them were silent, neither speaking a word. After a moment, Zhou Heng was the first to speak, asking, "Was everything you just said true?" Yin Mingran was slightly taken aback. She thought about what she had just said. Although she didn't know which sentence Zhou Heng was referring to, everything she said was indeed true. So she nodded and replied, "Yes, it's true." Zhou Heng was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly said, "I won't let you perish together with him. If he dares to offend you again, just tell me, and I'll handle it for you. Don't do anything foolish." Yin Mingran blinked, a little surprised. She hadn't expected Zhou Heng to say something like that. If she wasn't overthinking it, then he must be worried about her, right? Which meant that in Zhou Heng's heart, she did have some place. Otherwise, he wouldn't care, nor would he say such things. At this thought, Yin Mingran couldn't stop the corners of her mouth from wanting to curve upwards. She had just been angry at the time, so her words were a bit exaggerated. She herself didn't want to trade her life for Lu Yunxua's. It wasn't worth it at all. Okay, she quickly agreed, her tone already carrying obvious joy. She hadn't expected this unexpected gain, to receive such an attitude from Zhou Heng. The anger she had felt towards Lu Yunxua earlier in the morning instantly vanished into thin air. The two went to school together. As soon as he entered the classroom, Zhou Heng could feel the exam atmosphere. Usually at this time, it was very lively, with people chatting, joking around, and copying homework. But today, it was especially quiet. Most people were seizing the last bit of time to study, trying to review a little more. The few who didn't care had no one to talk to, and were sleeping quietly. In the past, Zhou Heng wouldn't have cared about this kind of atmosphere at all. He would have joined the sleeping faction, or just done whatever he wanted, except study. But today, he was also infected by this atmosphere, feeling the pre-exam tension, and wanted to quickly sit down and start reviewing. Who could guarantee that this little bit of morning review time wouldn't add a few more points to their score? As soon as Zhou Heng sat down, his deskmate, Tang Ji, asked in a low voice, "Were you guys followed on your way here this morning? Or did a conflict happen or something?" Zhou Heng was a little surprised. He looked at her and asked, "How did you know? Lu Yunxua, right? I guess as much. It was the same for me last night." Last night, Zhou Heng was stunned for a moment, but then he realized what had happened. It seemed that besides causing trouble for them, Lu Yunxua had also gone to bother Tang Ji last night. But he didn't even need to ask to know the result. If someone could easily get the upper hand in a confrontation with Tang Ji, he'd want to meet that person and learn a few tricks from them. But that person definitely wouldn't be Lu Yunxua. Zhou Heng didn't have time to deal with those things right now. Reviewing was obviously more important. The monthly exam would start soon. Although there were many such exams in the third year of high school, they could very directly show each student's recent learning situation, keeping the students in this state until the college entrance exam, absolutely not allowing them to slack off. After entering the exam hall, Zhou Heng relaxed his mind. He knew that only by maintaining a calm mindset and not being nervous could he perform to his best ability. For Zhou Heng, this was a battle of life and death. For Yi Mingran, the grade ranking was no longer that important. What was once something that could make her parents proud and earn their praise? Now, there was no one left to be proud of her, and no one would praise or reward her for her good grades. So she quickly finished the test paper, even skipping the process of checking it over. Her mind began to wander to other things. Although she had comforted Zhou Heng before the exam, she was actually still very worried about him. She worried that he wasn't in a good state, that he would encounter questions he couldn't solve, that his mentality would collapse under pressure. I need to make him some nutritious meals tonight to properly replenish his body. I feel like he's been staying up a bit too late recently. And I need to make sure he gets good rest. Can't be like last night. He can definitely do it. Yes, he can definitely do it. I believe in him. Yi Mingran nodded, her thoughts drifting far away, constantly thinking about Zhou Heng. She might not have realized that, unknowingly, in her heart, Zhou Heng's importance had surpassed her own. Ahem, that student. Please look at your own test paper. Reminded by the proctor, Yi Mingran came to her senses and lowered her head in embarrassment. At the back of the same exam room, Tong Yining looked at Yi Mingran in front of her, lost in thought. In the past, if they were in the same exam room, they would definitely look at each other from time to time and share a knowing smile. But now, she could no longer see Yi Mingran's gaze turn to her, just like how the current Zhou Heng would never look at her again either. The day of exams passed quickly. After returning to the classroom, everyone packed their things to go home. There were still exams the next day. After tomorrow's exams, the results would probably be out in a few days. After school, Liang Jiaxiang went to Lu Yinshua's desk. He looked at the empty seat in front of him, his gaze deep, lost in thought. At this moment, Kong Yu came over, patted Liang Jiaxiang's arm, and asked, "Where's Lu Yinshua?" He actually didn't come for the exam today. Liang Jiaxiang let out a heavy breath and nodded. Yeah, and he probably won't be coming tomorrow either. Huh, what's going on? Did something happen to him? Kong Yu frowned slightly, finding it hard to believe. Liang Jiaxiang didn't answer Kong Yu's question, but the expression on his face seemed to say it all. Kong Yu didn't ask again. He didn't know what had happened to Lu Yinshua, but it seemed to be quite serious. Yi Mingran waited at the school gate for Zhou Heng to come out so they could go home together. After a while, she saw Tang Ji walk out first. When Tang Ji saw Yi Mingran, she also took the initiative to strike up a conversation. Waiting for Zhou Heng. Yeah, how did you do on the exam? Wait, I shouldn't ask you that. For you, it must have been very simple. Yi Mingran chuckled. Although she was first in the class in terms of grades, that was only in academic performance. In terms of intelligence, she felt she was far inferior to Tang Ji. Tang Ji nodded and said, "Yeah, it was okay. I didn't see any difficult questions, but whether I answered them correctly is another matter." While the two were chatting, Zhou Heng also walked out. However, compared to Tang Ji's calm and nonchalant expression, he looked a bit different, appearing worried and preoccupied, constantly thinking about something. That last question, did I get right? It's okay if I got that one wrong, right? The points should be enough. When Tang Ji saw Zhou Heng approaching, she gently patted Yi Mingran's back and said, "Go on, he needs you right now." With that, she left, leaving Yi Mingran standing there, stunned for a moment. "Needs? Me?" she murmured, looking at Tang Ji's retreating back, her mouth slightly agape. Although she didn't know if the words had multiple meanings, she was happy to hear Tang Ji say it. Zhou Heng walked on, lost in thought, not paying attention to what was in front of him. Just then, Yi Mingran suddenly appeared before him, leaning in with her head and smiling at him. "Hello, how did the exam go?" Not sure. Probably. No major issues, I guess." Zhou Heng silently shook his head, but his expression was rather grave, his brows betraying his worry. He had just tried to recall what he had learned and written down the answers. As for whether they were right or wrong, he had no idea. If you asked him, he felt he had gotten everything right, since he had filled in all the blanks and left no questions unanswered. Zhou Heng sighed. He had done his best. If it still wasn't enough, he could only accept reality. It was his own fault for not studying before. Seeing Zhou Heng's state, Yi Mingran was taken aback. All along, Zhou Heng had given her the impression of being emotionally stable, someone who would face any situation calmly, his expression unchanging even if Mount Tai were to collapse before him, a character who remained composed in the face of danger. He was also particularly mature, as if his psychological age was much greater than hers. When he took care of her, he was like an elder. But now, seeing him worry about an exam, just like any other student, showing this side of himself, made In Min Gran feel that the distance between her and Zhou Heng wasn't so great after all. Especially with his head hanging low, looking so unconfident, it stirred a protective instinct within In Min Gran. For a fleeting moment, she really wanted to hug Zhou Heng, not wanting to see him looking so sad. But she held back. After all, they were outside, and while she didn't care, it wouldn't be good for Zhou Heng's reputation. She gently tugged on Zhou Heng's arm and said, "All right, don't think too much about what's over. Let's go home and review for tomorrow's exams, okay?" Zhou Heng turned his head to the side to look at In Min Gran. Seeing her rosy lips holding a smile, his heart, for some reason, instantly felt much better. He thought, perhaps this is the importance of comfort. If he were alone, he probably wouldn't even be able to review properly tonight. Okay. The two walked in the direction of home, discussing the exam questions from today and checking answers. Their retreating figures were seen by one person. Ran. Why is she with Zhou Heng? Tong Yining felt as if her brain had lost the ability to command her body. She stood there like a wooden block, unable to believe what she was seeing. Why? Was In Min Gran leaving with Zhou Heng? Were they close? Just yesterday, she found out that Tang Ji was actually Zhou Heng's sister, which was a relief. She no longer had to worry about Zhou Heng getting together with Tang Ji. She had planned to lie low for a while, not to bother Zhou Heng, as going now would only be counterproductive. She would wait a while, until Zhou Heng seemed to be in a better mood, then slowly approach him. After all, there was still a year, no need to rush. Based on her understanding of Zhou Heng, he wasn't likely to start dating anyone in a short period. So her main focus now was to repair her relationship with In Min Gran and become good friends with her again. But then she saw this scene, a scene she found hard to believe. In Min Gran was alone with Zhou Heng, without Tang Ji, and she had no idea where they were going together. It's probably just a coincidence that they're going the same way, right? Tong Yining muttered, comforting herself with words, but her eyes remained fixed on the direction the two were leaving. The reason she was comforting herself like this was mainly because she truly couldn't imagine Zhou Heng and In Min Gran together. Back then, she had suspected that even Tian Run had a very low possibility of being with Zhou Heng, but she had never once considered In Min Gran as a possibility. The reason was that in her impression, these two were people from completely different worlds, whether it was their personalities, tempers, or academic performance. They were polar opposites. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Tong Yining shook her head, trying to fling the dangerous thoughts from her mind. She still couldn't believe that there was anything going on between In Min Gran and Zhou Heng. So she would just pretend she hadn't seen anything. Back home, In Min Gran told Zhou Heng to focus on his review while she made dinner. Zhou Heng didn't refuse. He knew he should be racing against time. There was still a full day of exams tomorrow. Only after that could he relax a little. As In Min Gran cooked in the kitchen, she looked through the glass at Zhou Heng outside, who was studying diligently, his head bowed, occasionally stretching his neck and back. Just seeing Zhou Heng's state, In Min Gran could feel how tired and hard-working he was. In Min Gran pressed her lips together, a look of heartache in her eyes. She really wanted to do more for Zhou Heng, anything at all, as long as it could lessen his pressure and burden. After they had dinner together, In Min Gran went to clean up while Zhou Heng continued to review. When In Min Gran finished clearing the table and washing the dishes, she came out of the kitchen and stood behind Zhou Heng. When he was completely unaware, In Min Gran reached out her hands and gently kneaded his shoulders. Zhou Heng whipped his head around, looking at In Min Gran behind him with a somewhat surprised expression. He didn't understand why In Min Gran was giving him a shoulder rub. I just saw that you looked tired. So? In Min Gran lowered her head, her face red as she whispered. She didn't know how to explain to Zhou Heng. She just wanted to help him relieve his stress as much as possible. Zhou Heng's throat moved. He turned his head back and said in a low voice, "Thanks, but you don't have to. I'm fine. I'll go to sleep after studying for about another hour." "It's okay. You just focus on your studies." The two maintained a quiet environment, with the occasional sound of In Min Gran teaching Zhou Heng a problem. Time passed quickly, and it was soon midnight. Zhou Heng knew he had to sleep, or it would be like last night. So Zhou Heng and In Min Gran washed up one after another and returned to the bedroom, ready for sleep. Usually, Zhou Heng fell asleep quickly, while In Min Gran needed some time to feel sleepy before she could fall asleep. But tonight, both of them lay with their eyes open, staring at the dark ceiling above. Zhou Heng started thinking about tomorrow's exam, cheering himself on and constantly reminding himself not to slack off even if he successfully moved up 50 places in this monthly exam. After all, there would be the next exam and the one after that. He couldn't be careless. If he didn't move up that many places this time, he shouldn't give up either. His ultimate goal was the college entrance exam. Now that he was in his third year of high school, he was also getting nervous, realizing he couldn't just fool around anymore. By the way, Mingran, do you have a university you want to go to? Hearing Zhou Heng's voice, Mingran was stunned for a few seconds before she considered his question. No, to be honest, I never thought I could even go to university. Mingran said slowly and softly, her answer a bit timid, her voice tinged with a hint of sadness. Before coming to Zhou Heng's house, she had even thought that she would never go to school again. She would just find a job somewhere, regardless of whether she liked it or not, as long as she could support herself. She would just marry someone, regardless of whether she liked him or not, as long as he could provide for her financially. And then, her life would just pass by casually, which would be fine. But after meeting Zhou Heng, hope was rekindled in her heart. She wanted to continue her education, wanted to take her life seriously, not just let it pass by casually. And she also wanted to be serious in her romantic choices, to try her best to pursue the person she liked. Most importantly, she wanted to repay Zhou Heng in any way possible. You need to think about it seriously. Your grades are so good. How can you not go to university? But university costs money. I think it's fine even if I don't go. I'll help you figure out the money situation. Don't be in such a hurry to give up. Zhou Heng once again said something that left Mingran in silence. She couldn't respond to that sentence. She was very happy in her heart, wanting to accept it with joy, but for both emotional and rational reasons, she shouldn't. Zhou Heng didn't owe her anything. On the contrary, she owed Zhou Heng a lot. She already didn't know how to repay him, so she couldn't let him help her like this anymore, otherwise she wouldn't be able to live with the guilt. I'll consider it. She knew she still had a year to think about it, so she didn't have to think about these things for now. After all, who knew what the future held? Plans might not keep up with changes. However, if she had to choose one right now, she would definitely say without hesitation that she wanted to go to the same university as Zhou Heng. She had already lost hope of going to university. It was Zhou Heng who gave her hope. So she no longer cared about how good the university was. As long as she could be with Zhou Heng, even if he went to a vocational college, she would want to go with him. After chatting for a while, both of them fell asleep one after another. Early the next morning, Mingran was the first to wake up. She wanted to make breakfast, as well as lunch for both her and Zhou Heng. The time saved would allow Zhou Heng to rest a little more. When Zhou Heng got up and saw Mingran busy in the kitchen, he knew what was going on. But he didn't go back to his room to sleep. Instead, he started reviewing early in the morning. A day's plan is made in the morning. He wanted to take advantage of his clearest mind in the morning to memorize more things. After breakfast, the two went to school together. Compared to the first day, Zhou Heng was much more relaxed today. The thought of the exams ending today made him happy. He had already decided to reward himself with some gaming tonight, so he was a bit impatient, and the tension was relatively less. Just as the two stepped through the school gate, Zhou Heng heard a voice from behind. Wait. Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng and Mingran turned to look and saw the person running towards them. Both couldn't help but frown. The only person in the entire class who could make them both show this expression and look at the same time was their class's representative of the bazaar, Kongyu. Mingran whispered in Zhou Heng's ear. Are you close with him? Not familiar, not related. Zhou Heng quickly waved his hands, denying it. If he was thought to be close with this guy, he might as well be dead. He didn't want to become so bizarre. Kongyu ran up to Zhou Heng, glanced at Mingran beside him, and immediately gave Zhou Heng a get it look, which made Zhou Heng want to punch him, and, even more, tell him to get lost. Then, Kongyu said with a bitter smile, Brother, can you help me out? I'm in trouble. First, I'm not your brother. Second, your trouble has nothing to do with me. I can't help you. Zhou Heng shook his head, his voice exceptionally indifferent, as if speaking to a complete stranger. Kongyu grimaced awkwardly, then clasped his hands together, bowed his head, and said sincerely, Please, bro, please help me. After this is done, I will surely repay you with a gushing spring. Zhou Heng was about to refuse out of habit, but in the next second, he frowned and looked at Kongyu with interest, asking, Really? Yes, really. Fine, I want a skin in a game. You buy it for me, and I'll help you. Sure, I'll buy it. Zhou Heng crossed his arms, tilted his head, and looked at him, asking, Are you sure? You're not going to ask how much it costs. It's fine. I'll buy it no matter how much it costs. I must make you feel my sincerity. Kongyu waved his hand grandly, making himself seem very generous. In his mind, how much could a game skin cost? Could it be over 10,000? He had played quite a few mobile games, and skins were usually around 100 or 80 yuan, right? Beside them, Min Gran raised a delicate eyebrow, lost in thought. Last weekend, when Tang Ji came to Zhou Heng's house to play, she seemed to have heard Tang Ji say that Zhou Heng had always wanted a skin for a game weapon, which seemed to cost over 2,000 yuan. He could have bought it with his living expenses, but if he didn't meet the standard in this monthly exam and his living expenses were partially deducted, he wouldn't be able to buy it. At that time, Min Gran had actually thought about buying it herself as a gift for Zhou Heng, but she didn't have enough money now. She had been thinking that she could find a part-time job on the weekend, work for a few weeks, and then buy it for Zhou Heng. Was the skin Zhou Heng was talking about now the same one Tang Ji mentioned? All right, since you're so sincere, I can help you. Go on. What do you want my help with? Kong Yu's face immediately lit up with a joyful smile. He then bowed to Zhou Heng and said, Bro, please help me ask Tong Yining out. What did you say? Upon hearing this, Zhou Heng's sharp, sword-like eyebrows, as if painted on, instantly furrowed. He took a step forward, which scared Kong Yu into immediately taking a step back, covering his head with his hands, afraid that Zhou Heng was about to hit him. Hey, a gentleman uses his words, not his fists. It wasn't just Zhou Heng who had a strong reaction. Displeasure was also visible on Mingran's face. After all, it was fine for him to ask anyone for help, but he just had to ask the one person he shouldn't have. Wasn't this just opening Zhou Heng's old wounds? It made one suspect if he was just looking for trouble. Can't help you. Go find someone else. Zhou Heng waved his hand and turned to leave. His suggestion for Kong Yu to buy the skin was just a joke. How could he possibly extort a classmate for helping with a small favor? He had intended to make him back down, but seeing his persistence, Zhou Heng had agreed, with no intention of actually asking for it later. He thought it wouldn't be a big deal, but who would have thought this kid Kong Yu would dare to say such a thing, asking for this kind of help? If he could ask Tong Yining out, why hadn't he done it before? Was it because he didn't want to? Don't go. Bro, just help me, please. I really have no other options. Kong Yu quickly chased after him, his face looking like he was about to cry, his hands clasped together, constantly begging. He also knew the success rate of asking Zhou Heng for this was low, but after thinking it over, it seemed that besides Zhou Heng, there was no one else suitable. An impatient expression appeared on Zhou Heng's face. Just as he was about to say something, Min Gran suddenly stepped forward, blocking Kong Yu. If you can't ask her out yourself, how could it possibly succeed by asking someone else for help? Even if you managed to get her out, it would probably be out of respect for Zhou Heng. Do you think there would be any meaning in you getting her out then? Hearing Mingran's words, Kong Yu's tongue felt as if it were tied in a knot. He couldn't say a word, unable to find a rebuttal, because what Min Gran said was indeed reasonable. He had always felt that getting Tong Yining out was half the battle won, but now that he thought about it, it seemed that being able to get her out was just the beginning. If he couldn't even get her out, what else was there to talk about? Did you understand? In the future, don't come to me with this kind of thing again. Zhou Heng pushed Kong Yu's body aside and walked straight ahead. Kong Yu stood there stunned, sighing helplessly, his mood instantly hitting rock bottom. His last glimmer of hope was shattered. Now, he didn't even know what to do. Should he just give up? Min Gran didn't rush to leave. After seeing Zhou Heng walk away, she said to Kong Yu in a low voice, You should have a chance. Don't give up. Maybe you'll succeed. Really? Kong Yu suddenly looked up, his eyes lighting up. The hope that had just been shattered was rekindled by Mingran's words. Ah, really? You. Good luck. After saying that, Min Gran hurriedly left. To be honest, she didn't know if it was true or not, because she was just making it up. Her purpose in saying this was mainly because Zhou Heng had once said she should try to matchmake Tong Yining and Kong Yu. Although she didn't understand why, she still obediently did as she was told, because if Kong Yu were to pester Tong Yining, then Tong Yining wouldn't have the chance to pester Zhou Heng, right? Oh, Kong Yu smirked knowingly. After all, if even someone like Min Gran said so, then he had no reason not to believe it, right? In other words, he actually had a good chance and didn't need to ask for help at all. I've attained enlightenment. Kong Yu instantly had a breakthrough, a confident smile returning to his face. He then walked into the teaching building. The morning exam soon began. The students entered the exam hall and started the test. Zhou Heng's mentality was much better than yesterday, and he was more relaxed when answering the questions. Unlike yesterday, when his palms would sweat as he wrote. When the morning exam ended, everyone prepared for lunch. Zhou Heng returned to the classroom, ready to eat at his seat. He found that Min Gran and Tang Ji were already sitting there eating. When Min Gran saw Zhou Heng walk into the classroom, her face immediately lit up with a smile, and she waved at him. Zhou Heng sat down in his seat and muttered, You two don't have to worry about your grades. It's so nice. Both Yin Min Gran and Tang Ji beside him were in a completely different state from him. For them, these 2 days of exams were no different from a normal school day. They weren't nervous or worried at all. He also quite admired Yin Min Gran's mentality, because if he were the top student in the class, he would definitely be on edge all the time, worried about being surpassed and pushed down by others. The sense of loss from falling from the top spot would surely be immense, but he couldn't see any trace of nervousness in Yin Min Gran, as if she didn't care about such things at all. Tangji naturally used her chopsticks to take the fried egg from Zhou Heng's lunchbox and said, "It's your own fault for not studying properly before. You're not stupid. If you had studied, you wouldn't be worse than us." Then she took a bite of the egg, looked at Yin Min Gran, and asked, "You made this, right? MHM, is it good? Delicious." Zhou Heng shook his head from the side, rolling his eyes at Tangji. "There you go again with the useless comforting words, saying I'm not worse than others. I've been tired of hearing that since I was a kid." Tangji's face was calm as she said softly, "I'm telling the truth. How bad can someone who can beat me be?" Zhou Heng was suddenly taken aback. He stared at Tangji for a few seconds without speaking. At this moment, Yin Min Gran also nodded in agreement. "I think so too. There's nothing lacking about you, in any aspect. At least, that's what I think." Zhou Heng fell silent. After a moment, he finally said, "Fine. Even if you're lying to me, I'll accept it. Thank you." Tang Ji and Yin Min Gran shared a knowing smile, and upon seeing this, a slight curve also appeared on Zhou Heng's lips. After a while, Tang Ji, who was eating, suddenly said, "Zhou Heng, my mom asked me yesterday if there are any dishes you want to eat. She'll prepare them in advance for when you come to my house on the weekend." "Ah, I almost forgot about that if you hadn't mentioned it. I'll eat anything. I don't have anything I particularly want to eat." Zhou Heng suddenly remembered that he had promised to go to Tang Ji's house on the weekend. He had almost forgotten. Upon hearing this, Yin Min Gran silently lowered her head. She thought that she would probably be at home alone that day. She wondered when Zhou Heng would be back. Just then, Tang Ji looked at Yin Min Gran and changed the subject, saying, "By the way, you should come with Zhou Heng too." "Ah." Yin Min Gran blinked her wide eyes, pointed at herself, and stammered, "I can go too." "Of course. We can't just leave you at home alone, can we? It's settled then. You're not allowed to not come." Yin Min Gran took a breath, then nodded emphatically. "Okay." Outside the classroom, Tong Yining looked through the window at the 3 people inside, her expression grave. What exactly is Ranran's relationship with Zhou Heng? Are they friends? Since when? Tong Yining had been thinking about this since last night, which caused her to lose her appetite and sleep poorly. She didn't even perform well in the morning exam. She tried to search her memory for a connection between Yin Min Gran and Zhou Heng, but no matter how she thought about it, she couldn't figure out how the two of them got involved. Tong Yining's hands clenched, her teeth biting her lip, feeling a little uneasy. Could it be that Zhou Heng has started to like Ranran? Is that why he started keeping his distance from me? "Tong Tong, what are you doing?" Just then, a voice that made her scalp tingle suddenly sounded in her ear. Her body immediately dodged to the side, looking at the person beside her with a terrified expression. Seeing this person, she couldn't help but feel a chill. No wonder her scalp was tingling. It was Kong Yu. He was wearing a fawning smile, which he thought was probably quite natural and handsome, but to outsiders, it looked quite disgusting. "What are you doing? Don't come near me. If you come any closer, I'm going to scream." Tong Yining retreated repeatedly. Seeing Kong Yu approach was like a plague coming near. She wished she could retreat to the ends of the earth. No. I don't have any malicious intent. I just wanted to ask, do you have time this weekend?" Kong Yu grinned, rubbing his hands together, looking at Tong Yining with anticipation. This scared Tong Yining so much that her head shook like a rattle drum. "No, my family has arranged a blind date for me on the weekend. After the blind date, I have to go home and harvest wheat, and at night, I have to work at the textile factory. I'm too busy. I have no time at all." Kong Yu's mouth twitched. He didn't know what Tong Yining was talking about, but the meaning was, she was rejecting him, right? Kong Yu saw that Tong Yining's eyes kept glancing into the classroom, so he also looked inside and saw Zhou Heng and the other 2. "Who are you looking at?" "Zhou Heng and the others." Tong Yining glared at him, lifted her chin, and said irritably, "What's it to you?" Kong Yu clicked his tongue, then suddenly thought of something and quickly said, "By the way, did you know? I heard that Zhou Heng and the class president, Yin Min Gran, are apparently living together." Okay. Tong Yining replied perfunctorily, then continued to stare into the classroom. About 3 seconds later, Tong Yining's pupils slowly turned to the front, looking at Kong Yu. Her mouth opened slightly, Her eyes blinked, her expression a bit dazed. What? What did you say? Seeing that he had successfully captured Tong Yining's attention, Kong Yu continued. You don't know yet? Look, didn't Lian Chua not come either? I asked him when I was chatting with him last night. He told me that because of this, he's planning on not coming to school anymore. What exactly is going on? Hurry up and tell me. Tong Yining took a step forward, closing the distance with Kong Yu, her face filled with bewilderment and anxiety, as if she was desperate to know the truth. A trace of smugness flashed in Kong Yu's eyes, and he couldn't suppress the upward curve of his lips. Well, it's not good for me to just casually spill someone else's secret, right? I'm a very tight-lipped person, you know. Although Kong Yu tried to act like he was in a difficult position, he failed at managing his expression. His face was a picture of a petty person who had gotten their way. Tong Yining showed a look of disgust, took a step back, gritted her teeth, and asked in a low voice, then, what will it take for you to tell me? I thought about it. It's not good to talk about this kind of thing at school. What if someone else hears and it spreads? Then I'd be in trouble with Zhou Hong. So, it's safer to talk about it outside of school. Ahem, I have time this weekend. Kong Yu clapped his hands, then put his hands behind his back, looking left and right, his words carrying a very obvious hint. You want me to go out with you this weekend, and then you'll tell me? Tong Yining took a deep breath, her brows tightly knitted. She hadn't expected Kong Yu to be so shameless as to use this method to threaten her. Ahem, that's more or less the meaning. What do you think? Anyway, right now, I'm the only one who knows about this. Kong Yu decided not to pretend anymore and just said it outright, because he could see that Tong Yining really wanted to know about this. Sure enough, after Kong Yu finished speaking, Tong Yining showed a troubled expression, as if she was seriously considering it. Seeing that she still hadn't agreed, Kong Yu continued, Well, anyway, this matter is quite explosive. I haven't told anyone. I'm also afraid of getting into trouble. But I see that you really want to know, so I'm telling you at the risk of my life. If you don't want to know, that's fine by me. Just let me take this secret to my grave. After saying that, Kong Yu turned to leave, but his steps were slow, slower than an old man with a cane. After all, this was his tactic of playing hard to get. How could it work if he just walked away? Tong Yining wasn't a fool. If she couldn't see through this, she would have lived in vain. But she had no way to refuse. This secret, she wanted to know it too badly. Hearing that Zhou Hong and Yin Mingran were living together was like a clap of thunder, striking her head. If she didn't get to the bottom of it, she would be driven mad with curiosity. After about 10 seconds, Kong Yu hadn't moved more than 2 meters, and Tong Yining had already struggled with the decision in her heart hundreds of times. Was she really going to sell her soul for a piece of information? If it was really as Kong Yu said, that only he knew this secret, then she really had no choice but to ask him. Anyway, it would just be for a little while. She wasn't agreeing to a date with him. After hearing the secret, she could just leave. Finally, Tong Yining lifted her head and said through gritted teeth, Fine, I'll go out with you this weekend. You must tell me everything you know. Kong Yu stopped in his tracks, his smile almost reaching the sky. He quickly controlled it, turned his head, looked at Tong Yining, and said softly, Don't worry, I'll definitely tell you every single word. After lunch, during the break, Yin Mingran returned to her seat. She was looking at a book, reviewing for the afternoon subjects, when a girl walked over and said to her, Class president, the head teacher is looking for you. He wants you to go to the office. Oh, okay. Yin Mingran nodded, then closed her book, stood up, and left the classroom. She arrived at the office, knocked on the door, and walked in, heading to her head teacher's desk. The teacher was on the phone. Seeing Yin Mingran, he gestured for her to sit in the chair beside him and wait a moment. Yin Mingran sat down and waited for the teacher to finish his call. After he hung up, he looked at Yin Mingran and said, Yin Mingran, I have something to ask you. It's about our class's physical education representative, Lu Yinshua. He's processed his transfer and won't be coming back anymore. Yin Mingran's eyes widened in shock. Her mind instantly flashed back to yesterday morning when she had clashed with Lu Yinshua. He transferred today? Could it be because of her? Isn't that too much of an exaggeration? No matter what, it shouldn't be enough to make him transfer, right? This was the 3rd year of high school, with only 1 year left until the college entrance exams. Transferring at this time would definitely have an impact. The head teacher sighed and continued. So now the position of PE rep is vacant. You get along well with the students in the class, right? Why don't you pick someone? The PE rep isn't that important in the 3rd year anyway. It's mainly for the sports meet at the end of the month. Just pick someone to help you. About that. Yin Mingran scratched her head awkwardly, at a loss for words. If she had to suggest a candidate, she really didn't know who to choose. If she went by what she was thinking, the first choice would definitely be Zhou Hong. He was suitable in every aspect. But she felt that Zhou Hong would definitely not like being a class officer and having to help with the sports meet. With that time, it would be better to let Zhou Hong get more rest, so she didn't say it out loud. As for others, she didn't dare to just randomly name someone. She didn't know them that well. I think it would be better if you decide, teacher. I don't know who to choose either. Is that so? All right then, I'll see who has better PE grades. You can go back for now. Okay. After Yin Mingran left, the head teacher began to think about who in his class would be suitable for the PE rep position. PE grades didn't mean much, but he should at least choose someone with a higher score. I think. Wasn't there someone who shattered the school's basketball hoop a while ago? There were only 2 exams in the afternoon, so they were over quickly. The moment Zhou Hong left the examination hall, he felt incredibly relieved. Whether he succeeded or not was another matter, but it felt great to have such a heavy pressure lifted. Just as he was about to head back to the classroom, he saw the head teacher standing at the classroom door. Zhou Hong froze for a moment, then pretended to be calm and continued walking forward. But the closer he got, the more he felt something was wrong. The head teacher's gaze seemed to be fixed on him. Had he done something wrong? It didn't seem like it. Just as Zhou Hong was about to pretend he hadn't seen the teacher and walk into the classroom, the teacher suddenly called out to him, "Zhou Hong, wait a moment." What is it, teacher?" Zhou Hong stopped and looked at the teacher beside him, asking softly, "Well, Lu Yunxua has transferred. The PE rep position is now vacant. Can you take it? Transferred? Wait, no. Me? Be the PE rep? You're kidding, teacher. I can't be a class officer." Zhou Hong waved his hands, rejecting without a second thought. The head teacher narrowed his eyes and said, "It's not much work. The focus in the 3rd year is still on studying. It's just that the sports meet is coming up, and we need someone to help Yin Mingran with these things. After the sports meet is over, it's just a title. There's nothing to do. I have to be in charge of the sports meet." Zhou Hong paused, then his eyes widened as he looked at the head teacher and asked, "Yes, mainly responsible for things like signing up for events. It won't be too much trouble." "Okay, then I can do it." Zhou Hong nodded and agreed directly. Even the head teacher was taken aback, not understanding why Zhou Hong, who had been so resistant just a moment ago, would agree so readily the next second. That's good. Go on back." Zhou Hong returned to the classroom and sat down. The head teacher followed him in and stood at the podium, speaking to the students below. "Ahem. Okay, I have an announcement. Some of you may already know, but our classmate, Lu Yunxua, has transferred for some special reasons. And now, classmate Zhou Hong will be taking his place as our class's physical education representative, responsible for the sports meet at the end of the month." Yin Mingran was astonished, her mouth agape. She turned to look at Zhou Hong and found him looking down, embarrassed by the entire class's attention on him. Yin Mingran never expected Zhou Hong would agree to something like this. She had thought he would refuse 100% of the time. Only Tang Ji had a troubled expression. She frowned slightly, turned to Zhou Hong beside her, and said, "You're ruthless. To actually accept being the PE rep just to deal with me." Zhou Hong looked up at Tang Ji and snorted softly. "You figured that out? That's the only way you'd accept, right? You've really gone all out. Who told you to say I can't run long distance? Why don't you just take back your words and admit that I'm stronger than you, and this will all be over?" In your dreams. After school that evening, Tang Yining deliberately watched. After Zhou Hong walked out of the classroom, Yin Mingran immediately followed. If she hadn't heard the news, she wouldn't have cared, but now, the thought that the two of them might be going back to the same home was like a knife twisting in her heart. On the way home, Zhou Hong seemed to be in a very good mood. After all, he could play games when he got back and relax for a day. Yin Mingran, however, was still wondering why the head teacher had chosen Zhou Hong, and why Zhou Hong had agreed to it. Was he forced? After a while, Yin Mingran suddenly remembered that now that the exams were over, they had to think about the sports meet at the end of the month. And Zhou Hong and Tang Ji seemed to have argued over the sports meet events. Did that mean Zhou Hong's goal was to obstruct Tang Ji? Yin Mingran asked softly, Zhou Hong, now that the exams are over, we should start thinking about the sports meet at the end of the month. What events are you and Tang Ji planning to sign up for?" Zhou Hong nodded and said, I can sign up for anything, but Tang Ji can't. Not unless she takes back what she said to belittle me. Otherwise, there's no way I'm letting her sign up. I'm just going to make her sit there and watch me run long distance." About that. But letting Tang Ji sign up was the punishment I set for her. Wouldn't it be a bit to not let her sign up now? Didn't you make a bet with me to win? Wasn't it just to get me to sign up? I've agreed to participate now. We don't need her. But I think if we let Tang Ji sign up too, we'd definitely win. There's no need not to let her. In Mingran's voice grew quieter and quieter until it was almost inaudible. When she looked up at Zhou Heng, she found him staring at her. She quickly shook her head and explained, "No. Forget I said anything. Don't be angry." Zhou Heng was silent for a moment, then slowly asked, "In Mingran, between me and Tang Ji, whose side are you on? Who are you supporting?" Hearing this question, In Mingran was slightly startled. Then she lowered her gaze, and her face fell. The tips of her ears quietly turned red, and her voice, smaller than a mosquito's, answered, "You." After answering, she quickly looked up and said, "But I still don't want you two to be on opposing sides. I hope you're both on the same side." "Oh." Zhou Heng raised an eyebrow. He noticed her eyes were particularly determined when she said this, a complete change from her fearful state just a moment ago. The two fell into silence, walking for a long way. After a long time, Zhou Heng nodded gently and said, "Okay. I understand. I'll listen to you. You can make the arrangements for us." "Yeah, really?" In Mingran could hardly believe it. Just a moment ago, Zhou Heng had a stance of absolute non-compromise. How had he suddenly changed his mind? And he was even letting her make the arrangements? They had nearly come to blows over this before. "Yeah, really? Since you said that, what's there for me to keep fussing about?" Thinking about it now, I shouldn't have argued with Tang Ji over such a small thing in the first place. I was being narrow-minded. Ooh, Imingran's mouth formed an O shape. She couldn't help but be surprised. She realized that Zhou Heng was really different now. It seemed like ever since she had fallen asleep in his arms and woken up, he had undergone a subtle change. Although she didn't know why, she was very happy that Zhou Heng could change like this. It felt like he had become more of a man. "Okay, I'll take care of talking to Tang Ji. We'll have a meeting together to figure out how to arrange things for you both." Zhou Heng nodded. "I'll do my best to assist you." After returning home, Zhou Heng couldn't wait to turn on his computer and log into his game. After a while, Tang Ji's voice came through his headset. "Yuri finally online. Happy? Finally get to play games. You even have to ask? It's a good thing I didn't buy the season pass this season, or I'd have lost out big time. What about Mingran? She said I just finished my exams and should play games while she goes to cook. She's so considerate, it's heartbreaking. Treat her well. If you can't, just let her come live at my place. She's my tutor. How could I let you have her? You don't have to tell me. I'll treat her well." The two were chatting in the bedroom. At the bedroom door, Mingran was standing there. She wasn't eavesdropping intentionally. She was just passing by when she heard Tang Ji's voice from inside, so she stood and listened for a moment. Hearing this, Mingran's lips curved slightly, a smile blossoming in her eyes. She returned to the kitchen to continue cooking. About half an hour later, Mingran brought the freshly cooked dishes to the dining table. Then she went to the bedroom, peeked her head in, and said softly, "Time to eat. Come and eat first." Okay, coming." Zhou Heng responded, then said to Tang Ji on the headset, "I'm not playing anymore. Logging off. I'm going to eat." "Okay." After speaking, he shut down the computer and went to the dining table with Mingran, ready to eat. Zhou Heng was already used to eating Mingran's cooking. He had to admit, Mingran was quite a cook, no worse than him. Just as the two of them picked up their bowls and chopsticks, ready to eat, there was a sudden series of knocks on the door. Knock, knock. Zhou Heng and Mingran both froze, looking at each other blankly. No one ever came to this house except for Tang Ji, and it was already around 10 o'clock at night. Who could be at this hour? Mingran couldn't help but feel scared. She slowly put down her bowl and chopsticks, not daring to breathe too loudly. Zhou Heng stood up and said, "I'll go see who it is." He had nothing to be afraid of. If it was a bad guy outside, he could handle 2 or 3 of them. So he went to the door and, without even asking who it was, opened it directly. After opening the door, a woman was standing outside. She looked to be in her 40s. The years had left some marks at the corners of her eyes, but she was still dressed beautifully and looked very vibrant. She was carrying many things in her hands. When she saw Zhou Heng, her eyes lit up, and she smiled. "Son, did you miss me?" Zhou Heng's eyelids drooped. He replied helplessly, "No. Mom, what are you doing here? And at this time? Why didn't you say anything beforehand? Didn't I know you just finished your exams? I couldn't wait to find out your results. I called Xiao Ji, and she told me you've been studying so hard now." Zhou Heng's mother said as she tried to enter the house. But the next second, Zhou Heng blocked her, saying, "Mom, I just finished the exams. The results aren't out yet. I'll tell you when they are. What's the rush?" She put down the things in her hand, took out a thick red envelope from her pocket, looked at Zhou Heng, and raised an eyebrow, asking, "In a rush to give you your living expenses. You don't want it." "I do. Please come in. Zhou Hong moved aside, letting his mother in. In Min Gran, sitting at the dining table, saw Zhou Heng's mother appear before her and immediately stood up, extremely nervous. She was about to greet her, but the words got stuck in her throat as she realized his mother didn't seem to have noticed her presence. As soon as she entered, she started taking out the things she had brought one by one, handing them to Zhou Hong behind her. These are some good things I brought for you in Shaoji. You can't get them here. Take them to school for you two to eat together. Mom, this is... Right, these are your autumn clothes. I brought them for you too. Change into them when it gets cold. Don't catch a cold. You hear me? I know. Mom, she is... Speaking of colds, your dad caught a bad cold 2 days ago. There's a really good cold medicine. I brought you 2 boxes. Keep them on hand and take them if you catch a cold. Mom, listen to me. Zhou Hong shouted, stopping his mother from continuing. He then pointed to the side. Zhou Heng's mother paused and looked in the direction Zhou Hong was pointing. She saw Yin Min Gran standing there, looking very constrained. Auntie, hello. Zhou Heng's mother's eyes widened. She looked at Yin Min Gran, then at Zhou Hong, her face filled with disbelief. It was as if she had lost the ability to speak, unable to say a word. Zhou Hong had already guessed she would react this way. He introduced her to Yin Min Gran. This is my mom. Hello, Auntie. My name is Yin Min Gran. Yin Min Gran greeted nervously, her hands in front of her, unnaturally fiddling with the hem of her clothes, being extremely cautious. She hadn't expected Zhou Heng's mother to arrive so suddenly, leaving her completely unprepared. She didn't even have a chance to run out and hide. If she were to be kicked out, what would she do then? Hello. I'm Lu Wei. I'm Zhou Heng's mother. Zhou Heng's mother seemed even more nervous, as if she were the outsider, her tone of voice coincidentally matching Yin Min Gran's. Auntie Lu, Yin Min Gran said softly, then didn't know what else to say. She thought about whether she should explain who she was and why she was here, but she didn't know where to start. Lu Wei swallowed a couple of times, as if her throat was dry. She turned her head to look at Zhou Hong, then quickly pushed him into the bedroom and closed the door. Then, she lowered her voice and pointed outside, questioning. What's the situation? Do you have a girlfriend? Why didn't you tell us you're in a relationship? You're in your 3rd year of high school, a critical time for the final push. How could you? No, she's a classmate. Zhou Hong had already anticipated this suspicion and explained casually. A classmate? What's a classmate doing here so late? Aren't her parents worried? A girl staying at your place late at night? No, you have to take her home right now. Lu Wei frowned and gave Zhou Hong a push, tried to shove him out. But Zhou Hong stood firm, sighed, and said, Mom, listen to me. This Yin Min Gran, she's a bit special. Special. Then, Zhou Hong told Lu Wei everything, from the rainy night he met Yin Min Gran to her current predicament. The more Lu Wei listened, the more her brows furrowed, her expression becoming extremely grave, and she would occasionally gasp. She sat on the chair, listening quietly as Zhou Hong spoke, not saying a word throughout the process. That's the whole story. Tell me, could I just ignore her? If you encountered something like this, would you ignore it? Zhou Hong clapped his hands and then spread them, having explained everything clearly. He hadn't hidden anything, nor was there any need to, because he felt what he did was right, not wrong at all. After listening, Lu Wei stroked her chin and was silent for a while. Then she nodded and mumbled, You really didn't do anything wrong. You have to help in a situation like this. This little girl looks very nice. How could you not help her? What if she had suicidal thoughts? She had no doubt that Zhou Hong was lying to her because she knew her son's character too well. So she believed every word he said. Then, she looked at Zhou Hong, sizing him up and down, and questioned, You didn't take advantage of her, did you? Do anything to her? No, that's more like it. If you did something to her, the nature of this would change. That wouldn't be helping her. That would be being a hooligan. Lu Wei nodded with satisfaction. Then her gaze swept across the bedroom and landed on the bed. She pointed at the 2 pillows and 2 sets of quilts on the bed, looking at Zhou Hong with confusion, and asked, You sleep together? Why didn't you sleep on the sofa? I was going to sleep on the sofa, but she wouldn't agree. She insisted on sleeping on the sofa, and then I didn't agree. In the end, we both ended up sleeping here. Zhou Hong scratched his head awkwardly. He also didn't understand why they had inexplicably ended up sleeping on the bed together. Now he was even used to it and didn't feel there was anything wrong with it. Oh my, this 1-bedroom place is a bit small. Anyway, the lease is about to expire. I might as well find a new place for you two. Lu Wei nodded to herself, muttering. Just then, she remembered something. She took the red envelope out of her pocket and handed it to Zhou Hong. Zhou Hong took it and blinked in surprise, asking, Giving it to me directly? Didn't I have to improve by 50 places to get it? Yes, that was the plan before. But now there's a special situation, isn't there? You have to support two people now. If I cut your living expenses in half, how would you two live? But you have to be more frugal. You can't spend it all on games anymore. Zhou Heng looked at Lu Wei in surprise and asked, Really? Mom, you agreed to letting Min Gran stay. Lu Wei rolled her eyes at him and said, Nonsense. What kind of person do you take your mother for? Knowing how pitiful she is now, how could I not help her? I think this child is very nice, and our family can afford to support one more person. And you know what? I've always wanted a daughter. Zhou Heng knew his mother would definitely agree. After all, like mother, like son. That's why he wasn't flustered at all when he let her in, nor did he plan to hide anything about Min Gran. Although Zhou Heng and his mother had come to an agreement, Min Gran, outside, was on pins and needles. She sat at the dining table, the food untouched. She didn't dare to continue eating, just sitting there with her head down, anxiously picking at her hands. She didn't know what Zhou Heng and his mother were talking about in the room, and she couldn't eavesdrop, but it was definitely about her. Maybe they were discussing how to deal with her. As a parent, they certainly wouldn't allow her to live here, right? After all, she wasn't their child. If something happened to her, they couldn't bear the responsibility. Although she really wanted to state her position, that she would absolutely not be a burden to anyone, it seemed she had no say in the matter right now. Where she had to leave in a little while. Where'd she go? She had just found the will to live on, and she was very satisfied with her current life. Was it all going to end so abruptly? Click! Just then, the bedroom door opened. As if by reflex, Min Gran shot to her feet, her nervousness extremely obvious. Lu Wei walked out and saw Min Gran bowing, nodding slightly at her, the fear and unease in her eyes perfectly clear. The corners of Lu Wei's eyes curved slightly, as if in a smile. She walked over and said softly, Your name is Min Gran, right? Then I'll call you Xiaoran. Sit, don't be afraid. From now on, this is your own home. Who gets nervous in their own home? My own home. Min Gran was suddenly stunned, muttering the words softly, a flash of surprise in her eyes. She suspected she had misheard, but after confirming she hadn't, her heart was suddenly filled with elation. If she understood that sentence correctly, it meant she was allowed to continue living here, right? Did that mean she had been accepted? Lu Wei saw the food on the table and said to Zhou Heng beside her, Look at you, spending all your money on games. Couldn't you buy some better food? Is this all you make to treat Xiaoran? Wouldn't it be better to buy some ribs or something? Zhou Heng nodded silently from the side, not talking back. He had indeed spent too much money on games. The vegetables he bought didn't include much meat. They were mostly vegetarian. Min Gran quickly explained, I'm sorry, and I made all of this. I'll definitely go buy some better food for Zhou Heng another day. Lu Wei froze for a moment, blinked, and looked at Min Gran, asking in disbelief, You made all this? Yes, I did. Because Zhou Heng works so hard studying, I thought I could cook to help share some of his burden. You can cook. My goodness, that's amazing. I'm not afraid to say, I still can't cook even now. At home, it's always Zhou Heng's dad who cooks. Lu Wei looked amazed, clicking her tongue, her eyes filled with admiration for Min Gran. Min Gran was a little embarrassed by the praise. She lowered her head, her cheeks red. Zhou Heng said from the side, She cooks really well. Have you had dinner? Let me get you a bowl of rice to try. After speaking, Zhou Heng gave Min Gran a look. Min Gran understood and immediately went to get a bowl of rice for Lu Wei. All right, then I'll try Xiaoran's cooking. Lu Wei nodded and took the bowl. Zhou Heng also got her a chair, and she sat down. Lu Wei picked up some food, tasted it, and nodded repeatedly while chewing, Not bad, not bad. Fewer and fewer young people can cook these days. Someone as young and skilled at cooking as Xiaoran is even rarer. That's great. Lu Wei did not hold back her praise. Min Gran pursed her lips, looking like she wanted to smile, but also wanted to remain reserved. Being praised like this by Zhou Heng's mother, she felt incredibly happy. Auntie, you're too kind. By the way, I heard from Zhou Heng that you're a class officer. Min Gran nodded and replied softly, Yes, I'm a class president. Lu Wei was truly stunned. Her eyes widened as she looked at Zhou Heng beside her. Zhou Heng shrugged and nodded in confirmation. Lu Wei leaned over and asked in a low voice, then, Your grades must be very good, right? Well, they're okay. Min Gran replied modestly. But Zhou Heng blurted it out from the side, top 5 in the grade, first in the class. Smack! The next second, Lu Wei's hand, holding chopsticks, slapped the table, making Min Gran jump. Your grades are that good? Lu Wei exclaimed, as if struck by lightning, her eyes filled with disbelief, her mouth agape. Min Gran didn't dare to reply. She had never thought her grades were anything special, so she couldn't understand Lu Wei's strong reaction. Oh my God, with such good grades, you can't drop out of school. Don't you worry, Xiaoran. Just study hard and diligently, and don't think about anything else. Annie will do everything to help you. Lu Wei reached out her hand, speaking excitedly, making Minran's heart race along with her. She didn't expect this trait of Zhou Heng's came from his mother. These words were almost the same as what Zhou Heng had said to her. She quickly stood up, bowed deeply to Lu Wei, and said solemnly, "Thank you, Annie." Lu Wei looked at Min Gran before her, her expression and demeanor seeming to say, "Such a good child. If only she were my daughter." The affection in her eyes grew stronger. The more she looked at Min Gran, the more she liked her. Min Gran looked up and continued, "But, Annie, I can't just accept your kindness like this. I want to do something. Otherwise, I'll feel uneasy." She was happy, but she couldn't just accept it so brazenly. That would be too shameless. She hadn't done anything, and they had no obligation to be good to her. All right. Lu Wei had a faint smile on her lips. She gestured for Min Gran to sit down and said to her, "How about this? I heard that you helped Zhou Heng a lot with his studies for this monthly exam, right? Then you can continue to help Zhou Heng with his studies, okay? Just think of it as me hiring you as Zhou Heng's tutor. You put in the labor and get paid. That's perfectly reasonable. Is that okay?" This, Annie, even if you didn't say it, I would continue to teach Zhou Heng. That's not labor, I think. Min Gran wanted to say more because she felt this was no different from letting her do nothing. It couldn't be considered labor worthy of payment. But just then, Zhou Heng at the side suddenly coughed loudly twice. Ahem. Minran's words stopped short, and she swallowed the words on the tip of her tongue. She glanced at Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng wasn't looking at her. He was concentrating on his food, but his brow seemed to convey some kind of message. At that moment, Min Gran seemed to understand something. She changed her tune and said softly, "I understand. Thank you, Auntie." As soon as the words left her mouth, she saw a gratified smile bloom on Lu Wei's face, as if she were pleased with this change in attitude. In reality, Min Gran didn't know what Zhou Heng's signal meant, but she had instinctively changed her stance. When she looked at Zhou Heng again, his slightly furrowed brow had also relaxed. She slowly began to smile too, thinking to herself that she and Zhou Heng must have at least a little bit of tacit understanding. After dinner, Min Gran cleared the dishes and the table. Lu Wei, however, seemed to be leaving. She went to the door and put on her shoes. Min Gran hurried over and asked, "And aren't you staying here tonight?" Lu Wei smiled and waved her hand. "It's crowded enough with the two of you here. I've already booked a hotel nearby. Don't worry." Lu Wei opened the door, ready to leave. Before she left, she suddenly remembered something, turned back, and continued to Min Gran, "Oh, right. I plan to wait here until Zhou Heng's monthly exam results are out before I go back, so I'll probably be staying for a few more days. Tomorrow, I'll call Xiao Ji, and I'll take you all out to eat." "Really? My aunt went there last night? Did she really say that?" Tang Ji looked at Zhou Heng beside her in surprise, asking in disbelief. When Zhou Heng arrived in the morning, he told Tang Ji what had happened the previous night. He felt a sense of relief. He had gotten his living expenses and didn't even have to worry about his exam results this time. All thanks to Min Gran. "Yeah, and she's inviting you to dinner tonight. My mom will probably call my aunt today to let her know. You can just come with us tonight." "Oh, okay." Tang Ji nodded. She glanced in the direction of Min Gran, sitting in the front row, and saw that she seemed to be in a good mood, smiling and greeting other classmates. When Zhou Heng took out his books to study, Tang Ji asked, "How did you decide on the sports meet events? Are you planning to not let me sign up for anything and sign up for everything yourself?" Zhou Heng tapped his fingers on the desk and said faintly, "I'm not going to interfere. It's all up to Min Gran." "Really? What made you change your mind?" Zhou Heng looked at Min Gran in front of them and muttered softly, "Nothing. I just think I was a bit childish before." The day passed quickly. When school ended, Tang Ji didn't leave first as usual, but waited for Zhou Heng and Min Gran. After the three of them had packed their things, they left the school together. Tang Ji noticed that Minran's state was a bit off on the way, so she reached out and touched her, asking, "What's wrong, nervous? Didn't you already meet my aunt last night?" "I did, but I'm still a little nervous." Min Gran answered honestly. Even though she had been accepted last night, she still didn't dare to let her guard down. At the end of the day, she was still an outsider and had to maintain politeness and respect, not pushing her luck. "It's okay, relax. My aunt has already agreed to let you stay. You're part of our family now." Tang Ji patted Imingran's shoulder, comforting her. Part of the family, Imingran murmured, a part of her heart seemingly touched, and her nose suddenly felt tingly. When the three of them left the school, at the school gate, Zhou Heng squinted his eyes and scanned the area. Finally, in an open space nearby, he saw a car. The driver's side window was rolled down, and Lu Wei's head popped out. Seeing the three of them, she waved at them. Zhou Heng walked over first, followed by Tang Ji, with Imingran behind them. Zhou Heng opened the front passenger door and got in, while Tang Ji and Imingran sat in the back. After getting in the car, Tang Ji greeted Lu Wei in front. "Hello, Annie." Lu Wei smiled sweetly and replied, "Hello, Xiao Ji. Long time no see. You've gotten even prettier. You look younger and younger too, Annie. Ha! This little Xiao Ji loves sugar, doesn't she? Such a sweet talker." Lu Wei looked in the rearview mirror at Imingran, who was sitting in the back looking a bit unnatural, and called out softly, "Xiaoran." "Yes, Annie," Imingran replied quickly, afraid of being a second too late and slighting Lu Wei. Lu Wei asked in a very gentle tone, "What would you like to eat? Just say whatever you want. It's up to you." I'm fine with anything. You can decide, Andy. You don't have to listen to me." "Is that so? Then Annie will decide. If you don't like it, just say so." "Okay." Lu Wei drove away from there, heading toward a street with restaurants still open. Even though it was evening, the area was brightly lit, with major restaurants open for business and plenty of people. Finally, Lu Wei parked the car in front of a hot pot restaurant and led the three of them inside. The restaurant was very crowded, but luckily there was still an empty table. A waiter led them to the spot. After they sat down and were given a menu, Lu Wei handed it to Imingran, wanting her to order. But of course, Imingran declined. How could she dare to order? She was just an outsider. It was already great that she could come along for dinner. She had to be polite. Zhou Heng could see Imingran's predicament was uncomfortable, so he didn't press her further. He took the menu and ordered the food. After he finished ordering, Lu Wei's phone rang. She took it out, glanced at the number, stood up, and said to the other three, "You guys go ahead and eat. I'm going to take a call." Then, Lu Wei left the table with her phone and walked out of the restaurant. With only the three of them left, the atmosphere became more relaxed, and they soon started chatting. "Imingran, what did you say to Zhou Heng? He came and told me this morning that the sports meet events are all up to you to arrange. I almost got into a fight with him over it before, and he didn't give in. I didn't say anything. The sports meet events can be arranged by Imingran, but isn't there still the opening ceremony performance? I'm determined to get that." The three chatted for a while, and a hot pot base arrived. Hot pot dishes came out quickly, plate after plate. Lu Wei hadn't finished her call yet. Zhou Heng picked up his chopsticks first and told the other two they could eat, but Imingran still didn't dare to move her chopsticks. She thought they should definitely wait for Zhou Heng's mother to come back before eating. Imingran looked up towards the direction Lu Wei had left, but as she looked up, her eyes met those of a woman passing by their table. After seeing Imingran, the woman immediately stopped, standing next to their table, staring at Imingran with one eyebrow raised higher than the other. Imingran's face instantly changed color. Her mouth fell slightly open, her lips trembled, and her eyes widened. The woman had entered middle age, was overweight, had a sharp chin, and looked like she was not to be messed with. "Imingran." The woman raised an eyebrow, a contemptuous smile on her lips. Hearing the voice, Zhou Heng and Tang Ji both looked up, staring at the woman in surprise. Imingran stared at the woman. Even though her name had been called, Imingran didn't respond, just glaring at her with cold, sharp eyes, biting her lip so hard it almost bled. Her hands on the table were clenched into tight fists. The woman crossed her arms, her whole body like a barrel. She tilted her head and said in a strange, mocking tone, "What? Not going to greet me? Did your mother not teach you any manners?" "Oh, I forgot. She couldn't teach you even if she wanted to." At these words, Imingran's breathing immediately became rapid. Her body trembled slightly, and her clenched fist had turned white from the force. Zhou Heng and Tang Ji frowned deeply. Tang Ji put down her chopsticks, glared at the woman, and asked, "Ma'am, who are you?" "Ma'am, little girl, who are you talking to? Why don't you ask her who I am?" The woman put her hands on her hips, pointing at Imingran, so angry she seemed to be out of breath. Tang Ji looked at Imingran and tilted her chin, asking about the woman's identity. "She is my father's ex-wife, the one who kicked me out of the house." Imingran lowered her head, as if instantly recalling the most painful period of her life. During that time, she truly didn't want to live, her mind filled with suicidal thoughts. Hey, don't you go slandering people. How did it become your house? That's my house. Kicking you out was perfectly reasonable. And you're playing the victim? The woman's voice got louder, her tone becoming shrill and grating, to the point that the guests at the next table were getting annoyed. Zhou Heng immediately understood who the woman in front of him was. He had heard Yin Minggran talk about this person, who, along with her own son, had kicked Yin Minggran out of her home. It could be said that she single-handedly almost cost Yin Minggran her life. Zhou Heng's narrowed eyes opened wide. He stared at the woman and slowly spoke. Old lady, we're trying to eat. Do you have business here or not? If not, can you please scram? I can't eat with you here. Old? Huh, you little brat. Who are you calling? The woman was so angry she rolled up her sleeves, revealing her flabby arms, looking as if she was about to deal with Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng tilted his head and stood up. His tall figure was a good 2 heads taller than the woman. His muscular chest was like a wall in front of her. The woman was stunned, seemingly not expecting Zhou Heng to be so strongly built. But the next second, she remained defiant, putting her hands on her hips and yelling, What? You want to hit me? Go on, go on. Hit me. Hit me right here. This boorish and unreasonable behavior attracted the attention of many people in the restaurant. Zhou Heng couldn't actually hit her, but honestly, he really wanted to punch her right now. Seeing the situation, Yin Minggran quickly reached out and pulled on Zhou Heng's arm, whispering, Zhou Heng, calm down. Don't be angry. Zhou Heng exhaled a turbid breath and slowly sat back down, picking up his chopsticks, intending to ignore the woman. But the woman had no intention of stopping there. She continued to look at Yin Minggran and said, Well, Yin Minggran, you have friends to stick up for you now, do you? Hanging out with these riffraff all day? What would your mother think if she saw you from below? You're so unfilial. Smack! Yin Minggran slammed her hand on the table, her face flushing an even deeper red. She looked up, gritting her teeth, and glared at her hatefully. What right do you have to talk about my mother? I have nothing now. What more do you want? To hunt me down to the last. Oh, you ungrateful wolf. Everything I'm saying is for your own good. Why can't you tell good from bad? Really, children without parents are just like this. No upbringing. You, a sharp pain, like a knife twisting, shot through Eminran's heart. It fell hot, and a mist immediately clouded her eyes. You what? Let me tell you, your mother was a vixen, and you're a little vixen. Look, with you and your mother around, the family was torn apart, wasn't it? You deserve it. Tui. These words were like sharp swords piercing Eminran's heart. She felt an excruciating pain, as if a knife were being twisted inside her. Her lips trembled, unable to form a single word. Her chest heaved up and down, and tears crystallized in her eyes like crystals. With a blink, tear after tear streamed from her eyes, down her cheeks, and dripped onto the floor. She burst into tears, standing there, utterly helpless. At that moment, she once again felt the same feeling as her most desperate time. Hiss! Unable to bear it any longer, Zhou Heng's expression darkened. He shot up from his seat and pointed at the woman, shouting, If we don't say anything, you think we're afraid of you? Are you done? Can you get lost? If you don't, I won't be polite. Zhou Heng picked up a glass soda bottle from the table, gripping it in his hand. The veins on his thick arm bulged, and his eyes flashed with a fierce light, as if he were about to smash the bottle on the woman's head the next second. Tang Ji also stood up, pulling Yin Minggran behind her, and stared at the woman, saying in a low voice, Old woman, you dare bully her again? The woman snorted coldly, completely ignoring Zhou Heng and Tang Ji's threats. She crossed her arms and said, Am I wrong? I have some relation to her, so I'm educating her on her mother's behalf. What's wrong with that? What does it have to do with you? A bunch of little kids try and scare me? Come on, come on. I'm standing right here. What do you do to me? Zhou Heng's brows furrowed in anger. His teeth nearly ground to dust. The rage in his heart surged, and his eyelids twitched. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He took a step forward, preparing to teach the woman a lesson. Smack! Just then, a hand suddenly clapped down on the woman's shoulder. Zhou Heng couldn't help but freeze. He saw the person behind the woman, and his explosive anger immediately subsided. Then, Zhou Heng took a step back and slowly sat down. Tang Ji also hugged Eminran's shoulders and gently guided her to sit down. The woman's brows knitted together. She turned her head to look at the person behind her. It was Zhou Heng's mother, Lu Wei, standing there, still holding her phone, a smile on her face as she spoke to the person on the other end, and made him, Okay, got it. Don't worry, hey. You. The woman was about to speak and question Lu Wei, but as soon as she said one word, the hand on her shoulder suddenly started to squeeze. The flesh on the woman's shoulder was pinched so hard it dented. She grimaced in pain, her body slumping to one side. She quickly reached out to grab Lu Wei's hand on her shoulder. Let go. Let go. It hurts so much. But Lu Wei was still smiling and talking on the phone, as if she wasn't the one applying pressure, as if it had nothing to do with her. She completely ignored the woman's words. Yes, yes, I'm out eating with the 3 kids. Okay, we'll talk another time. All right, bye. After Lu Wei finished her closing remarks, she hung up the phone and put it back in her pocket. When she looked up again, the smile on her face instantly vanished. Her expression hardened, her eyes narrowed, and within them was only a bottomless darkness. She let go of her hand, took a step forward, looked down at the woman, and said coldly, "Who are you? How dare you bully my child? You got some nerve. Your child." The woman rubbed her shoulder and looked at Zhou Heng and the others, her eyebrows raised high. "Which one is your child? How'd you raise them? So rude. I'm their elder, after all." The woman glared at Zhou Heng and Tang Ji, her nose in the air, her lips pursed in an expression of disdain. Yin Mingran leaned against Tang Ji, her head down, not daring to look forward. She knew this was all trouble she had caused. It had even involved Zhou Heng and Tang Ji, who had nothing to do with it but were now caught up in the mess. What parent would allow their child to be with someone like her, who might attract this kind of trouble at any time? She herself was a considerable burden. So, the moment Lu Wei arrived, Yin Mingran felt only guilt. It was because of her that this person had shown up. Lu Wei's brow furrowed, showing extreme displeasure. She pointed towards Zhou Heng and the others and said, "All 3 of them are my children. Who are you calling rude? Say it again if you dare." Exclamation point. Hearing Lu Wei's words, Yin Mingran suddenly looked up, tears still on her face, and looked at her in disbelief. She was included, just like Zhou Heng and Tang Ji. At a time like this, being excluded would have certainly made her feel desolate, like she was superfluous. But now, a special sense of security surged in Yin Mingran's heart, making her feel once again like she was being protected by a mother. All 3. Heh, so you consider Yin Mingran your child too? Yin Mingran, is this the stepmother you found? Really? I didn't misjudge you, you ungrateful wolf. How long has it been since your mother passed away? You've accepted it so quickly. Smack! As soon as the woman finished speaking, a glass of water was suddenly splashed on her face. It instantly soaked her hair and collar. The woman's eyes widened, and she stood stunned for a few seconds before she realized what had happened. She looked up at the calm Lu Wei in front of her, whose nonchalant expression made her anger reach its peak. "What are you doing?" the woman shrieked, her voice sharp and ear-piercing, the fat on her body trembling. Lu Wei looked up, appearing very innocent. She spread her hands and said faintly, "What did I do? I just wanted to pour out this water. Who told you to stand there?" The woman gritted her teeth, pointed at Lu Wei, and yelled, You. Lu Wei's eyes sharpened. She glared at her and said sternly, "You what? Look at you. You look like a QR code. If I don't scan you, I won't even know what you are. Your looks are creative, and your life is courageous. Are you so arrogant because you're protected by the Animal Welfare Association? No amount of cheap perfume can cover up your livestock smell. I what? Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have a problem with your head. Did a donkey kick your head all day instead of doing its job? You only have one face. Don't you know how to save some of it? An adult bullying children, and you call yourself an elder? The only thing you have over my kids is that you'll die sooner." The woman gasped for breath, as if she couldn't breathe. She took 2 steps back, almost losing her balance, her legs weak. If she hadn't held onto the wall, she might not have been able to stand. This was the first time she had been humiliated like this. Her face was flushed, almost bleeding with rage, contorted as if she were in a life-or-death struggle. Zhou Heng and Tang Ji had even covered their faces with their hands, afraid they would burst out laughing. Yin Mingran was also astonished, never expecting Zhou Heng's mother to have such a powerful offensive. She was always so gentle when she spoke to them. She never thought she had this side to her. If she were scolded like that, she would have been wailing by now. Lu Wei stared ahead and said coldly, "Let me tell you, Xiao Ran is different now. She's my child. If you dare to bully her again, I will definitely not let you off. You can come at us openly or secretly, through legal or illegal means. Do you really think our family is easy to mess with?" Fine. The woman pointed at Lu Wei, then at Yin Mingran, fuming, her face like a bursting popcorn pot. Then, she wiped the water from her face, turned, and left in a huff. Once she was gone, the entire restaurant returned to its quiet, harmonious state. Lu Wei exhaled, as if releasing all her anger. Then, She sat down next to Mingran. Mingran was no longer crying. Lu Wei had stood up for her, and she now felt extremely vindicated, though tears still lingered at the corners of her eyes. She lowered her head and said softly, "Thank you, Auntie." She didn't know how to express her gratitude, nor how to face Lu Wei now, because Lu Wei's earlier words, "She is my child," had made her feel dazed. Her eyes had tightened, and she had felt an urge to cry right then and there. Maybe she just said that for the woman to hear. Now that the matter was resolved, should she take it seriously? Just then, Lu Wei took a few tissues, reached out, and gently wiped the tears from the corners of Mingran's eyes. "Don't be afraid, baby. You don't have to be afraid of her bullying you anymore. You have someone to protect you now. I will protect you from now on." Lu Wei held Mingran's hand, a gentle smile blooming on her lips, the tenderness in her eyes growing deeper. Mingran was stunned. Then, her eyes began to brighten, her eyelashes fluttering a few times. Whoa! The next second, she burst out crying like a small child, tears streaming down her cheeks. Unable to suppress the most vulnerable emotion in her heart, she threw herself into Lu Wei's arms and cried her heart out. Lu Wei hugged Mingran, patting her back gently and whispering in her ear, There, you don't have to be afraid anymore. Although I can't be like your mother, I promise to treat you just like I treat Zhou Hong. You don't have to see me as a mother, but I will definitely see you as my own daughter." I. Mingran sobbed, unable to form a complete sentence. She couldn't believe this was real. It was like a dream. Since her family's misfortune, she had never had that feeling of home again. But in Zhou Heng's home, she felt it once more. She so desperately wanted to fit in, so desperately wanted to be one of them. So, this situation left her feeling overwhelmed with favor. If this was a dream, she didn't want to wake up. Tang Ji, watching from the side, suddenly spoke up, "Auntie, you can make Mingran your goddaughter. Didn't you always say you wanted a daughter?" Lu Wei smiled, as if she had been waiting for this opportunity. Then, she looked at Mingran in her arms and asked softly, "Are you willing?" Mingran sat up from Lu Wei's embrace, wiped her tears with her hand, and stammered, "I'm willing. That's wonderful. My precious darling, I like you so much. There, don't cry." Lu Wei was overjoyed. She hugged Mingran and comforted her in a soft voice. In Lu Wei's arms, Mingran felt a sensation just like being in her own mother's arms. It instantly put her at ease. She closed her eyes, as if savoring the moment. Ever since her parents had passed away, she had been left with a lingering issue. The slightest shock or fright would make her heart tremble, as if it were about to jump out of her throat, leaving a heavy feeling in her chest. But now that symptom seemed to have unknowingly disappeared. Nestled in Lu Wei's arms, her heart beat steadily and comfortably. Although Mingran wished this could last forever, it was ultimately impossible. She sat up, sniffling gently. "Auntie, still calling me Auntie?" A smile played on Lu Wei's lips. She reached out and brushed Mingran's hair aside. A faint blush appeared on Mingran's cheeks. After a few seconds of silence, her voice was especially quiet. "Godmother." "Oh, godmother doesn't sound good. Let's drop the god part. We're all family. No need to sound so distant. It's not intimate." Mingran's face turned redder, and she lowered her head even further. Finally, her voice was so soft only Lu Wei could hear it. "Mom?" "There you go," Lu Wei responded, gently stroking Mingran's face, her eyes filled with ever-growing affection. Tang Ji tugged on Mingran's arm and said softly, "Come on, I'll take you to the restroom to wash your face." "Okay." Mingran and Tang Ji went out to the restroom. Lu Wei's gaze followed Mingran's retreating figure, her eyes fixed, a smile still on her face. Zhou Heng glanced at his mother and asked, "Is this really okay? It feels like you're being too eager. Won't you scare her?" "TSK, you have no idea how much I used to envy Zhou Yalin." Zhou Heng asked in surprise, "My aunt? What did you envy her for?" Lu Wei shot Zhou Heng a look and said irritably, "What do you think? I envied her for having such an excellent daughter. Xiaoji studies have never been a cause for her parents' concern. And look at you. Ugh, I'm just getting angry with you all day. You worry me to death." Zhou Heng lowered his head, regretting his nosy question. Now he had made things very awkward for himself. Lu Wei sighed and continued, "I've always liked daughters. Now that I have such an excellent girl right in front of me, I love it. Her grades are so good, she's polite, and she's so cute and pretty. She's not a bit inferior to Xiaoji. It's so rare." Zhou Heng, while eating, said, "Raising a daughter is like carefully cultivating a flower. In the end, some brat will come and take the whole pot away. You'll be heartbroken then." Zhou Heng's words made Lu Wei fall silent. She took a breath, her brow furrowed slightly, as if she were seriously considering his words. After a moment, she suddenly leaned over and asked in a low voice, "You think, is there any chance for you and Xiao Ran to get together? Keep the good stuff in the family. She wouldn't even have to change how she addresses me, and I wouldn't have to face difficult in-laws. Your dad and I wouldn't even have to prepare a betrothal gift for you." "Hey, no, I..." Before Zhou Heng could say anything, Lu Wei raised her hand to cut him off. Probably not possible. Xiao Ran probably wouldn't agree. My son is handsome, but his grades are just too poor. If he could just catch up with his studies, my son would be perfect." Zhou Heng was speechless. He rested his forehead in his hand and said, "I give up. I really don't understand why you guys think grades are so important. It's not like I'll be executed if my grades are bad. Bad grades don't mean I won't have a future. If I can't get into college, can't I do other things?" He had been hearing this about his grades since he was a child. The comparisons to other people's children were enough to make his ears bleed. If it had been any other child, they might have become depressed, ended up on a rooftop. But due to his personality, Zhou Heng had a good tolerance for stress. He no longer cared about the things he had heard a million times since childhood. Even so, he still couldn't understand why his parents were always so concerned about his grades. The world didn't just need people with good grades. Did people with bad grades deserve to die? Seeing the anger faintly showing on Zhou Heng's face, Lu Wei was silent for a long time. After a while, once Zhou Heng had calmed down, she reached out and gently placed her hand on the back of his. "Son, as your mother, I'm definitely not just looking at whether your grades are good or bad. Studying isn't the only path, and it might not be the most suitable one for you. For you, it might not be the best, but I think it's a relatively easier path. There are many people who succeed without going to school, but should we take that gamble? When there's a simple path laid out in front of you, why not take it?" Zhou Heng was silent, not responding, but that didn't mean he wasn't listening intently. "Your father and I have the same thought. We don't need you to earn a lot of money. You don't have to give us a single cent of the money you earn. We just hope you won't have such a tiring life. You don't have to do jobs with get-rich-quick opportunities. You don't have to rack your brains trying to figure out how to make big money. As long as you're steady, can support yourself, support a wife and children, and carry the weight of a family, then your mom's heart, you're the most amazing person." Lu Wei held Zhou Heng's hand, speaking softly. Zhou Heng could feel that his mother's palm seemed to have become rougher. More than 10 years ago, when he was small and held his mother's hand, he thought her hand was fair and tender, and it felt good to hold. But now it was no longer like before. It was much rougher, much thicker. He had gone from being ignorant to slowly realizing that his family financial situation was quite good. All of this had been earned by his parents through their hard work. He had never been worse off than others in terms of spending since he was a child. Although his grades were not good and he was playful, he was by no means the kind of child who couldn't listen to reason. On the contrary, it was precisely because he understood his parents' good intentions that he had now come to his senses and was studying hard, not aiming to get the best scores, but just to not disappoint his parents' expectations. Zhou Heng exhaled and said softly, I know." After dinner that evening, the group prepared to leave. Lu Wei first drove Tang Ji to the bottom of her apartment building. "Bye, Auntie. You promised to come play at my house another day." Lu Wei waved at her and said, Okay. "Zhou Heng and Xiao Ran are coming to your place this weekend, right? Keep an eye on Zhou Heng. Don't let him cause trouble for your mom." Tang Ji chuckled and prepared to turn and leave. "It's fine, he won't. I'll get going then. Auntie, drive safe." "All right, hurry on back." After Tang Ji left, Lu Wei rolled up the car window and drove away, taking Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran home. Yin Mingran sat in the back, looking at the night scenery outside the window. At the sight of the houses with their lights still on, she smiled faintly. A few days ago, she thought she would be destined to look at the lights of countless homes alone, without a home to return to. But now, she was sitting in a comfortable car, heading back to her new, safe home. The two people sitting in front had become her family, letting her feel the warmth of home once again. Just then, Yin Mingran suddenly thought, now that she had become Zhou Heng's mother's goddaughter, did that make her and Zhou Heng brother and sister? That didn't seem right. They weren't a blended family, and she hadn't been adopted, so it didn't have much to do with Zhou Heng. All in all, they had their own separate relationships. She called Zhou Heng's mother Mom, but she and Zhou Heng didn't have that kind of relationship. They could be family, friends, classmates, but definitely not brother and sister. Thinking of this, Yin Mingran suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Wei drove Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran to the bottom of their building. Before they got out, she said, "I got a call before dinner, didn't I? I have to go back tomorrow." "Zhou Heng, After your test results come out, remember to tell me. Okay, I know. But don't get your hopes up too high. Jo-hung nodded, then got out of the car and walked towards home. After In-min Gran got out, she didn't leave right away but stood to the side, looking at Lu Wei in the car, an unspoken thought on her face. Seeing In-min Gran like this, Lu Wei's eyes crinkled into a slight smile. Go on back, darling. I'll come see you guys another day. We've exchanged numbers and added each other as friends, right? If you need anything, just tell me, don't be shy. In-min Gran looked up, a happy smile gracing her lips. She nodded emphatically and said, Mom, please take care of yourself and be safe on your way back. In-min Gran's soft whisper reached Lu Wei's ears. She was slightly taken aback, her brows raised slightly before a charming smile spread across her face. She opened the car door and got out of the driver's seat. In-min Gran froze, not knowing what was happening. The next second, Lu Wei approached In-min Gran, gently cupped her face with both hands, and then kissed her on the forehead. In-min Gran's eyes widened, a flash of surprise in them. Then, Lu Wei whispered in her ear, don't get sick. Until the car drove away, In-min Gran still stood there, unable to snap out of her daze for a long time. She raised her hand to her forehead, her mouth slightly agape. Only the occasional blink of her eyes proved she hadn't turned to stone. The cool summer night breeze blew across her face, lifting her hair, making her body feel slightly cold, but her heart was incomparably hot, difficult to cool down. Seeing that In-min Gran hadn't come upstairs for a long time, Jo-hung came straight down. He walked out the door and saw In-min Gran standing there. He called out, what's wrong? Let's go home. Isn't it cold outside? Oh. In-min Gran snapped back to reality and hurried forward, entering the building with Jo-hung. In the elevator, Jo-hung said, the weather's about to get colder. My mom brought me some autumn clothes. See which ones you can wear and take them for now. When we have a break, you can go buy some more. I'll give you the money. Don't refuse. This is my mom's idea too. In-min Gran nodded and replied obediently, I know. After returning home, In-min Gran looked at Jo-hung's back. There was something that had been on her mind, unsaid. She felt she should ask Jo-hung to be clear, so as not to offend him unknowingly. Jo-hung. Hearing In-min Gran's voice, Jo-hung turned to look at her. In-min Gran turned her head to the side, one hand holding her own elbow, and asked in a small voice, it's just about me being your mom's goddaughter. Are you unhappy about it? Do you mind? She asked softly. After all, Jo-hung was the biological son. She had to ask for his opinion. If he minded, then of course she couldn't push her luck, even though she was now really afraid of changing this outcome. Jo-hung raised an eyebrow, stunned for a few seconds, then shook his head and said, about that, you're happy. My mom's happy, and I got my full living expenses, so I'm happy too. How could I possibly mind? It's just that your relationship with my mom has changed. But between you and me, nothing has changed. Don't overthink it. We could just be like we were before. Hearing Jo-hung's words, the heavy weight in In-min Gran's heart was lifted. Her biggest fear was that her relationship with Jo-hung would worsen, would not be as good as before. Since Jo-hung had said so, she could rest assured. That night, they took turns showering, changed into their pajamas, and prepared to go to the bedroom to sleep. In-min Gran looked at the bed they shared and thought about the fact that her godmother now knew she and Jo-hung slept in the same bed. Did she not say anything about it? Did that mean she tacitly approved? Jo-hung also came in. Looking at the bed, he suddenly remembered what his mother had said yesterday. Right, my mom said this apartment is a bit small for the two of us, since there's only one bedroom. So after a while, when the lease is up, we're going to move to a new place. Is that so? In-min Gran's gaze flickered, her reply somewhat strained. The thought that when they moved, there probably wouldn't be just one bedroom meant that she and Jo-hung would no longer sleep together at night. In-min Gran's heart skipped a beat. She quickly negated the thought in her head. What was she thinking? This current situation must be uncomfortable for Jo-hung. After all, he was big and strong. Squeezing into one bed with her must be very uncomfortable. She had offered to sleep on the sofa, but Jo-hung wouldn't agree. When they had 2 bedrooms, Jo-hung would have much more space to sleep. That was a good thing. Then why did she feel a hint of disappointment? Turning off the light. The two lay on the bed. Jo-hung closed his eyes, already starting to feel sleepy. But In-min Gran couldn't sleep. She could hardly close her eyes. The event of the day had been a bit too much for her to digest. She replayed everything in her mind, finally stopping at what Jo-hung had said about them moving to a new place. This kind of time is becoming less and less each day. In-min Gran thought to herself, staring at the ceiling. Although they slept in the same bed every night, They had separate blankets and pillows with a barrier in between. Other than occasionally chatting after the lights were out, they had no contact in bed. Just then, Min Gran suddenly remembered that the only day that was different was when Zhou Hong had been extremely tired and sleepy. In his sleep, he had rolled over and accidentally put his arm on her. A little closer, and he would have really been holding her. The next day, Zhou Hong had apologized and explained. Since they were going to sleep separately eventually anyway, then maybe. A very dangerous idea appeared in Ran's mind. Since Zhou Hong could accidentally roll over to her side in his sleep, then couldn't she do the same? Except Zhou Hong had done it accidentally, and she could pretend to do it accidentally. In other words, pretend to be asleep. The next day, she would just pretend she knew nothing, that it was completely unconscious. She wouldn't have to feel embarrassed. Min Gran pursed her lips, her heart thumping wildly. It felt very exciting. She was about to do something she had never even thought of before. She didn't move right away. To pretend to be asleep, she had to wait at least half an hour before moving. Otherwise, she would definitely be suspected. Who falls asleep that quickly and starts rolling over? So with this idea in mind, she waited for over half an hour. It was already late at night, pitch black outside, with no light at all. Min Gran felt she could start her move. So she shifted her body slightly, as if testing the waters. The barrier in the middle. She could easily cross it just by rolling over. But if she did, she would truly be in Zhou Heng's territory. The distance between them would be so close, they could be touching. So she had to control it well, to make it seem like a completely unconscious action, so no one would see through a ruse. First, Min Gran moved her blanket to the side, otherwise she would get tangled in it when she rolled over. Then, she turned on her side, facing Zhou Hong. However, the bedroom was so dark that she couldn't tell if Zhou Hong was asleep. It would be best if he had just fallen asleep. Even if she accidentally woke him, he wouldn't realize she did it on purpose. If he wasn't asleep, her actions had to be very natural, otherwise it would be easy to see she was faking sleep. After a moment, Min Gran felt the time was right for the next step. She rolled over, trying to stop on the blanket in the middle, so she could just rest her arm on Zhou Hong. However, she underestimated the inertia. As she was rolling over, she realized she couldn't stop. The next second, she rolled completely to the other side, right into the space where Zhou Hong was sleeping. Min Gran was shocked, breaking out in a cold sweat, her heart racing, terrified that this big movement would make Zhou Hong suspicious. But she stayed still for more than 10 seconds, and Zhou Hong didn't move at all. Min Gran could feel her leg touching Zhou Heng's body. The distance between them was now less than a fist's width. Min Gran opened her eyes a little and peeked. She found that Zhou Hong seemed to have his back to her. He was sleeping facing the other way, and she had rolled over, yet Zhou Hong hadn't moved. This meant he must be asleep. Min Gran breathed a sigh of relief, and her heart rate slowly returned to normal. Just then, Min Gran suddenly remembered that last time, she had also thought Zhou Hong was asleep the whole time, but he had apparently woken up at the end. If he hadn't told her, she would never have known. So this time, Min Gran was a little worried. What if Zhou Hong wasn't asleep and was pretending to be? She used her hand to move the blanket behind her, creating more space so she could retreat a little, so as not to be pressed against Zhou Hong. She controlled the distance between them to be about a side body's width. Not too close, but still within reach. Then, Min Gran began to think about her next step. Now she was facing Zhou Hong, but he was facing away from her. So what should she do next? Should she reach out and put her hand on Zhou Hong, or be more conservative and just touch his side with her hand? Just as Min Gran was thinking, Zhou Hong in front of her suddenly moved. Min Gran quickly closed her eyes and went into pretend sleep mode, acting like she knew nothing. The next second, Zhou Heng's body rolled over. The space she had created was just enough for him to turn. Min Gran's whole body trembled. She kept her eyes closed, unable to see what was happening, but her body could feel it. Her head was now resting on Zhou Heng's chest, and draped over her was Zhou Heng's arm. Right now, she was truly being held in Zhou Heng's arms. What's going on? Min Gran didn't dare to open her eyes, nor did she dare to move. She hadn't even made her move yet, hadn't figured out how to put her hand on Zhou Hong, and now she was being held by him instead? So was the current Zhou Hong asleep or awake? Min Gran could feel Zhou Heng's even breathing and his heartbeat. She listened for a while. Zhou Heng's heart rate didn't change. Logically, if Zhou Hong were awake, his heartbeat should have changed, right? This meant that Zhou Hong was still asleep and not awake. Then does that mean? After a moment, Min Gran's hand slowly lifted. It paused in midair for a few seconds, then slowly landed on Zhou Heng's waist. The two of them seemed to be embracing at that moment. In Mingran also felt an unparalleled sense of peace. At this moment, a thought occurred to her. She believed that she could only experience this feeling when Zhou Heng was asleep. It was somewhat sad. When could they embrace like this when Zhou Heng was awake? That would have to be after they got together. She definitely liked Zhou Heng. That was a given now. But she just didn't know if Zhou Heng would like her. If she confessed first, would Zhou Heng agree? But no matter what, she couldn't delay Zhou Heng's studies right now. In Mingran closed her eyes. In Zhou Heng's arms, she quickly fell asleep. However, after In Mingran fell asleep, in the darkness, Zhou Heng slowly opened his eyes. In Mingran opened her drowsy eyes and saw that sunlight had already crept in through the gap in their room's curtains. She hummed, her voice thick with sleep. She saw that Zhou Heng was no longer beside her. The thought that she had fallen asleep in his arms last night felt incredibly surreal, like a dream. She had fallen asleep so quickly that she wasn't sure what happened afterward. They must have turned over again and separated. She wondered if Zhou Heng had noticed what happened last night. Ugh, In Mingran sat up in bed. Her pajama top slipped off her shoulder, revealing a creamy, ivory-like expanse of skin. She changed her clothes, pulled open the curtains to let the sunlight spill in, then folded the quilt neatly. After walking out of the bedroom, she saw that Zhou Heng had already made breakfast. When Zhou Heng saw In Mingran, he greeted her softly, "Morning." "Morning," In Mingran replied with a smile, revealing her neat, white teeth. Her overall spirit was in a completely different state from the past few days. It could be said that from this day forward, In Mingran was like a brand new person. In Mingran went to wash up, then sat down at the dining table to eat breakfast with Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng took a sip of congee and asked, "The results should be out today, right? I remember it takes about 2 days." "Yeah, the scores for basically all subjects will be out this morning. If they're fast, the rankings should be out in the afternoon." Zhou Heng sighed. In Mingran looked at him with some surprise and asked, "Are you still worried about your scores?" "It's fine. Even if you don't reach your goal, it's okay. This is just a monthly exam. You only reviewed for a few days. You could just do well on the next one." "Yeah, I know." After breakfast, they packed their things and went to school together. Perhaps because the results were coming out, the atmosphere at school was rather oppressive. Most of the students were no longer laughing and joking around. They were in a constant state of anxiety. Whenever the scores for a subject were about to be announced, a wave of commotion would sweep through them. Zhou Heng, on the other hand, hoped to know his scores as soon as possible so he could compare and see how far behind he was from everyone else. He was originally ranked in the 200s in the grade. In class, Kong Yu was at about the same level as him. Their previous scores were similar, but this time, the gap began to widen. Every time a subject score was announced, besides listening for his own, Zhou Heng would also make a point to check Kong Yu's score. He found that his score in every subject was significantly higher than Kong Yu's. Meanwhile, In Mingran was also worried for Zhou Heng. She didn't even care about her own scores and was focused on Zhou Heng's. With each subject announced, she would record the score in a notebook and even look up Zhou Heng's previous scores for comparison. Seeing Zhou Heng's immense improvement, a smile finally appeared on In Mingran's face. "You really did well this time. Moving up 50 places shouldn't be a problem. You're ranked in the 200s, so you have a lot of room for improvement. It's very easy." After seeing Zhou Heng's scores, Tang Ji also praised him. She hadn't expected Zhou Heng to improve so quickly. It was truly worth not logging into the game for so many days. "I hope so." Zhou Heng also felt that it should be a sure thing, but he didn't dare be 100% certain. After all, he wasn't the only one improving. What if everyone else's scores were good this time too? Wouldn't that make it difficult for him to move up so many ranks? After the scores were announced, it was a case of some being happy and some being sad. At that moment, Kong Yu was about to shatter. He was slumped over his desk, head in his hands, his face full of despair. He hadn't expected to do so poorly this time. It was even worse than his last test. He thought about how he hadn't studied at all. Since the start of the school year, he had first pursued Tang Ji, and, after failing, he had shifted his focus to Tong Yining. Now, just as he was making some headway with Tong Yining, who had even agreed to go out with him on the weekend, this massive bad news arrived. When he got home tonight, wouldn't he be beaten to death? After lunch came the afternoon classes. Just as everyone's hearts were pounding with anxiety, the sudden bad news finally put their suspended hearts to rest. The rankings are out. Sheets with the rankings were distributed to them, indicating their scores and changes in rank. Zhou Heng felt a chill run up his spine. He held the sheet, searching for his name on it. In the past, he could always start checking from the bottom, as he was sure to be among the last and could find his name in the bottom few. But this time, he looked at the bottom, and his name was not among the bottom 10. Exclamation point. Then he finally found his name in the middle of the class rankings. Within the class, he had jumped a full dozen places. Grade ranking. From 233 up to 168. Bang! Zhou Heng slammed his hand on the desk in excitement. The loud noise instantly drew the attention of everyone in the class. Ahem! He coughed awkwardly and lowered his head, covering his forehead with his hand. This was probably the most exciting moment for him in a year. When he had received the task to move up 50 places, he had thought it was impossible. He hadn't expected to actually do it, moving up 65 places. He looked around. In the entire class, he made the most progress, rising the most. Zhou Heng knew that Yin Mingran's contribution was indispensable. His improvement was all thanks to her help. When Zhou Heng looked toward Yin Mingran, he found that she was looking right at him. Their eyes met. The corners of Yin Mingran's slightly pursed lips drew a beautiful arc as she raised her hand and made a peace sign at him, as if she were happy for him, celebrating for him. Zhou Heng's eyes were fixed on her. On his usually stern face, a faint smile actually appeared. Seeing this, Yin Mingran was suddenly stunned, then quickly turned her head away. A cherry-like blush flew across her face. Seeing Zhou Heng smile, for some reason, made her heart race. The last time she saw it seemed to be when she secretly watched Zhou Heng and Tang Ji playing games. But that time, it was just a tiny smile, not very obvious. This time, however, she saw it very clearly. That feeling truly made her heart pound. She thought Zhou Heng's smile was really beautiful. After just one look, it was already etched in her mind, impossible to erase. Zhou Heng lowered his head and continued to look at the others' rankings. He didn't even have to think. First place was definitely Yin Mingran. Even though she hadn't been to school for over 10 days, her ability was there for all to see. Upon her return, she could still firmly hold the top spot. After looking at Yin Mingran in first place, Zhou Heng looked down, but the person in second place seemed to be different from what he had expected. Zhou Heng looked at his desk mate in astonishment and demanded, "Tang Ji, have you been studying in secret?" It was all right. I just studied for a few days before the exam." Tang Ji glanced at the list. She was in second place in the class, having moved up from 5th. Her grade ranking had also risen from 17th to 60th. Her reaction to this seemed rather muted, as if it were a perfectly normal result. You want to improve your rank, and you want to play games too. You're so greedy. You have to have some results, right? This is all so I can play games better. There's no conflict. Tang Ji shrugged and smiled, which annoyed Zhou Heng, but there was nothing he could do. Who could argue with someone who had the brains for it? Are you getting online tonight? Duh, I paid for a full night. Zhou Heng nodded. He had achieved such good results. Why wouldn't he reward himself tonight? Otherwise, what was the point of taking the test? There's one person's result that's a bit interesting. Zhou Heng asked, puzzled who? Tang Ji then reached out and pointed to a name on the list. Zhou Heng looked and saw that Tang Ji was pointing at Tong Yining. Tong Yining's rank had dropped from 34th in the grade to 77th. Her performance could be described as having plummeted. Zhou Heng looked up at Tang Ji and asked, "Are you trying to say her massive drop has something to do with me? Can you deny it?" "I can't, but I don't care. If she's affected, that's her problem." Zhou Heng tossed the list aside and said flatly. At that moment, Tong Yining was holding her report card, her gaze shifting back and forth between her and Zhou Heng's scores. Her eyes were deep and her expression was grave, but her current emotions were unreadable. After a while, she put the report card down and looked up in Yin Mingran's direction. "Sai, what on earth am I doing?" After school let out, Zhou Heng couldn't wait to rush home. If Yin Mingran hadn't kept up in time, she almost would have been left behind. After getting home, Zhou Heng immediately called his mother, Lu Wei, to tell her his results. Yin Mingran sat there, watching with a smile as Zhou Heng called Lu Wei and explained the situation. Although she couldn't hear what was being said on the other end of the phone, she could feel from Zhou Heng's words that the other side was very happy. After hanging up, Zhou Heng went to his room to play games. Yin Mingran looked at the report card in her hand, thinking about how she used to be the same way. As soon as she got her results, she would immediately rush home to tell her parents, see their happy expressions, and hear their praise. It was like her spiritual sustenance. She always looked forward to that moment. Yin Mingran looked at the chat interface on her phone, then at the report card again. She didn't know what she was thinking, and her expression was conflicted. She hesitated for a long time. Finally, she took a picture of the report card and sent it to a contact on her phone. And this contact was none other than Lu Wei. She didn't know why she did it, but she just did. A sense of anticipation quietly arose in her heart, hoping for a response. Ding, a moment later, her phone chimed. She quickly picked it up and looked eagerly. My baby is amazing. Kiss, kiss. Then a money transfer was sent directly. This is a reward for my baby. Take it quickly. Eun-Ran's eyes widened, her face filled with shock, a reaction of being overly startled. Eun stared at Lu Wei's transfer on her phone. It was for 666 yuan. Wasn't this reward a bit too extravagant? She had often placed first before, but had never received so much reward money. She typed a reply. Mom, thank you, but I can't accept this money. All right now. Hurry up and take it, or I'll get angry. Laughing face within over mouth, the words didn't sound angry at all. Even Eun let out a small laugh, her heart feeling as sweet as honey. They chatted for a few more sentences, and the smile on Eun-Ran's lips grew wider, even the corners of her eyes overflowing with unconcealable mirth. Her head swayed lightly from side to side, her happiness almost visible to the naked eye. After a few rounds of refusal, Eun knew she really had to accept it. Lu Wei was truly Zhou Heng's mother. When she was stubborn, no one could change her mind. After accepting the transfer, Eun didn't plan to keep it for herself. Instead, she transferred it directly to Zhou Heng. She felt it didn't belong to her. She had told the other party her results, but not to get this money. This is for Mom. You should take it. After a while, Eun heard her phone chime. She opened it and saw that the transfer to Zhou Heng had been returned by him. This is for you. Why are you giving it to me? Keep it. Don't be shy. But it's too much. I don't dare to take it. She was afraid you wouldn't dare take it, so she intentionally gave you less. Otherwise, in her heart, you getting first place is worth much more than this. You have to at least add another 6. Eun stared at the message on her phone, her mouth agape in surprise. This was a reward with a digit missing? This was too much. She was just a goddaughter, yet she was treated like this. She couldn't imagine what an extravagant reward Zhou Heng would get if he took first place. Eun went to make dinner so that Zhou Heng could play in peace. After finishing the exam and getting his results, Zhou Heng was clearly much more relaxed. He didn't play games the whole time. After dinner, he rested for a bit and then went to exercise. Eun, whose body no longer ached after the last workout, decided to join Zhou Heng's routine, exercising with him to let her body slowly adapt to the feeling of working out so she wouldn't strain her muscles again. After the workout, both of them were drenched in sweat, so they took turns showering. When they lay in bed at night, ready to sleep, they were already very tired. Eun thought about last night, her mind starting to ponder. Of course, she still wanted to fall asleep in Zhou Heng's arms like last night. It made her feel incredibly comfortable and secure. But an opportunity like last night's seemed rare. What could she do to make it happen again? Besides pretending to be asleep and being extremely careful not to wake Zhou Heng, she also had to ensure that Zhou Heng would turn over and happen to hold her. This was extremely difficult, so such an opportunity could only be chanced upon, not sought. Turning off the light. Okay. Lying in bed, Zhou Heng asked, the weekend's almost here. We're going to Tang Ji's house. You're probably not nervous anymore, are you? He felt that Eun-Ran's status was different now. Now he, and Tang Ji were all family, so going to Tang Ji's house shouldn't be so nerve-wracking. I'm okay. It's just I don't know what Tang Ji's family is like. Eun replied in a small voice. She felt that it would be great if they were all like Lu Wei, but if they weren't, she, as an outsider with a different surname, was still very worried. It was the weekend, and the students were on break. On this day, most people had arranged their schedules in advance. Tong Yining opened her eyes, waking from a dream. In reality, she had barely slept at all. She had been waiting for today since last night. Today, she had agreed to go out with Kong Yu. Her purpose was simple, and there was only one: to get information from Kong Yu's mouth about Zhou Heng and Eun. What did he mean when he said those two were living together? What did he know? Tong Yining washed her face and went to her vanity table. After staring at her reflection in the mirror for a few seconds, Tong Yining suddenly stood up and mumbled, "What's the point of makeup? Not going to do it. It's unnecessary." She was only going out with Kong Yu because she was forced to in order to get information. Otherwise, she would never go out with Kong Yu in this lifetime. Under these circumstances, she had no desire to put on makeup, feeling like it would be a waste of cosmetics. So she casually tied up her hair, grabbed a random piece of clothing, and her whole demeanor was not at all like someone going out to meet people, but more like someone going out to pick up a delivery. Tong Yining looked at her phone and saw that Kong Yu had already sent many messages, almost all asking if she was awake, and when she would be out. She was a bit speechless. She had been forced to add him as a friend, and now he was constantly sending her messages. Just like Zhou Heng in the past, except this person was far worse than Zhou Heng. If she were to wake up now to so many messages from Zhou Heng, she couldn't imagine how happy she would be. After sending a concise reply to Kong Yu, Tong Yining left the house to go to their meeting place, secretly resolving in her heart to leave immediately after hearing the news, without a moment's delay. They had agreed to meet at the entrance of a park. When Tong Yining arrived, she saw a person already standing there. It was Kong Yu. He was standing under a tree, holding his phone, looking at himself in it, and constantly fiddling with his hair, which seemed to be sprayed with hair gel. A wave of disgust rose in Tong Yining's heart, and for a moment, she even had the urge to flee. She kept weighing in her mind whether it was worth it. This was selling her soul. If she happened to be seen by someone she knew, she would want to die. Maybe she'd end up like Liu Yunxua and transfer schools too. Kong Yu saw the slowly approaching Tong Yining and immediately broke into a smile, walking over to meet her. "Hi, you're here. Just tell me, and let's leave as soon as you're done." Tong Yining maintained a certain distance from him, a distance where they could hear each other speak. If Kong Yu took a step forward, she would take a step back. Kong Yu saw through Tong Yining's intentions, spread his hands, and said helplessly, "Shouldn't we at least talk as we walk?" TSK. Tong Yining had no choice but to leave with Kong Yu and start walking. However, she deliberately staggered her position with Kong Yu, one behind the other, making it look like they weren't familiar with each other. Tong Yining walked behind Kong Yu, arms crossed, glaring at him. "All right, spit it out. Do you know or not?" "Of course I know. Would I lie to you?" Kong Yu deliberately slowed his pace, moving a little closer to Tong Yining before slowly speaking. "Here's the deal. On the day of the exam, Liu Yunxua didn't come, right? Liang Jiaxiong said he might not be coming back at all. After I got home, I contacted him and asked. He said he was going to deliver breakfast to the class president in the morning, but when he got downstairs from her place, he suddenly saw her and Zhou Heng walking out together. When he confronted them, he found out that it was Zhou Heng's house, and the class president was living at Zhou Heng's house." Tong Yining listened with a frown, not even caring about the distance between her and Kong Yu anymore. She walked straight up to Kong Yu's side and asked why. Why would she be living at Zhou Heng's house? I don't know. Liu Yunxua just told me that. He doesn't know the reason either, but it seems the class president had a conflict with him. You don't know? This little bit of information is all you know, and you tricked me into coming out? Tong Yining's brows furrowed, and she glared at him, her eyes tinged with anger. Kong Yu quickly said, "No. What do you mean tricked you out? You came willingly. I told you everything I know. Where did I trick you?" "You." Tong Yining bit her lip, fuming. She thought she would hear some useful news, but now she knew she was wrong. She shouldn't have placed any hope in Kong Yu. "I'm leaving." Tong Yining turned to leave. Staying here would only show how foolish she was. When Kong Yu saw she was about to leave, he immediately stepped forward to stop her. After all, he had gone to great trouble to get Tong Yining to come out. If she left after such a short time, he would be at a total loss. "Hey, don't go. I mean, since you're already here, what's the rush to leave? How about I treat you to a meal? So you didn't come out for nothing. Forget it. I'll just consider it as taking out the trash." Tong Yining didn't stop, instead walking faster and faster, with Kong Yu chasing closely behind. Just then, two figures suddenly appeared around the corner ahead. Tong Yining immediately stopped to avoid bumping into them. But when she saw clearly who the two people in front of her were, her heart trembled uncontrollably. She staggered backward, her eyes filled with disbelief. Tong! Min Gran saw Tong Yining in front of her and was about to call her name subconsciously, but then she immediately shut her mouth, pretending not to see her. Beside her, Zhou Heng frowned slightly. When he saw Kong Yu behind Tong Yining, his brow smoothed out again. You too." Tong Yining stood rooted to the spot, as if turned to stone, her mouth slightly open as if she wanted to say something but couldn't get anything out. A moment ago, she was still skeptical of Kong Yu's words, but now, she was completely convinced they were true. How else could she explain the two of them being together early on a weekend morning? Kong Yu also stopped, slightly taken aback when he saw the two people in front of him, then a meaningful smile appeared on his face. "What a coincidence, you two. Off to a date." As Zhou Heng and Min Gran walked past him, Zhou Heng responded with a cool, detached voice, "Date my ass." Then he and Min Gran walked straight away, not giving Tong Yining a second glance, as if they hadn't seen her at all. Watching the two of them walk further and further away, the dazed Tong Yining came to her senses. She quickly turned around, chased after them, and called out, "Wait!" Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran stopped and turned to look at Tong Yining behind them. Zhou Heng had the same impatient look on his face as always, just like Tong Yining's expression when he had confessed to her. Yin Mingran, on the other hand, had a placid look, showing no emotion, giving off a vibe of being complete strangers with Tong Yining. You two, are you really living together? I heard it from someone else. Tong Yining asked in disbelief. She was desperate to know the truth, to hear it from their own mouths. Perhaps after knowing the truth, she wouldn't be able to bear it. One was the boy who had pursued her for 2 years, who had now stopped, and instead, she had developed feelings for him, wanting to win him back, but powerless to do so. The other was her best friend of 2 years, her bestie. She had always believed they would be friends for life. These two people were practically the two most closely related people in her high school life. But now, it seemed like she had been abandoned. They had gotten together, and the close relationships she once had with them seemed to have suddenly been severed. She couldn't accept this reality. She wouldn't have been so upset if Zhou Heng was with anyone else, and she could have probably accepted Yin Mingran being with someone else. But what she found most unacceptable was Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran having a relationship. It felt as if she had been betrayed, abandoned. Zhou Heng glanced at Kong Yu behind them, and Kong Yu quickly turned his head away, pretending to look at the scenery with an innocent expression, but his body was trembling slightly. He had told Tong Yining about this. Would Zhou Heng question him later? What if Zhou Heng got angry with him? How would he explain it? Yin Mingran looked at Zhou Heng. Without his permission, she didn't dare to speak rashly. Zhou Heng gave her a look as if giving her permission to speak. Yin Mingran understood, turned her head to Tong Yining, and even before she spoke, just seeing the silent exchange of glances between the two of them made Tong Yining's heart ache. They seemed to have such good chemistry, able to understand each other with just a look. Yes, it's true. I'm living at Zhou Heng's house. Yin Mingran nodded, admitting it. Hearing the affirmative answer, it was as if a clap of thunder exploded in Tong Yining's mind. Such an outrageous, absurd thing was actually true. How could she accept this? No wonder they were both drifting further and further away from her. It turned out they were getting closer and closer to each other. But why? What was the catalyst that brought them together? Then, you two, what's your relationship now? Tong Yining asked slowly, her voice weak. She felt that asking this now was like asking a pointless question. They were already living together. Wasn't the relationship a foregone conclusion? Zhou Heng's brows furrowed slightly. He had intended to answer that they were friends, or classmates, or perhaps roommates. But he suddenly realized that their relationship had become a bit subtle now. Beyond these superficial relationships, on a deeper level, they were also considered family. So, in the next second, Zhou Heng answered, "She also calls my mom. You can figure out the relationship yourself. Goodbye." After speaking, he reached out, took Yin Mingran's wrist, and led her away from there. Yin Mingran was stunned for a moment, letting Zhou Heng pull her along. She looked at Zhou Heng's side profile, a gentle smile gracing the corners of her lips. Zhou Heng was thinking that they were on their way to Tang Ji's house and had no time to waste here. As for why he answered that way, it was because he didn't know how to explain his relationship with Yin Mingran, so he just threw the question out there for her to figure out herself. What he said was the truth anyway, so they could guess whatever they wanted. Tong Yining and Kong Yu were left standing there, completely stunned, mouths slightly agape, their brains seemingly unable to function. They had originally thought that the two were at most in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. What other relationship could there be? But after what Zhou Heng said, their relationship seemed to be more than just that. She called Zhou Heng's mother mom too. So what kind of relationship could that be? That definitely weren't siblings. So besides siblings, the most likely possibility was daughter-in-law. Kong Yu pointed at the backs of the two, so shocked his jaw hung open, his lips trembling. Holy crap. Are they married? No way, right? Zhou Heng isn't even of legal age to marry. Did they have a wedding ceremony before getting the license? Kong Yu looked at Tong Yining beside him and saw that her face was extremely pale, her lips as if they had lost all their color in an instant. How could this be? She murmured in a low, hoarse voice, as if something was stuck in her throat. Kong Yu looked at Tong Yining with a puzzled expression. He didn't understand why she would react like this. Hearing such news, a classmate would at most be shocked. But Tong Yining looked as if she had been cheated on. Are you okay? Kong Yu asked tentatively, but got no response from Tong Yining. She stood there, gazing at the receding figures of the two, let out a heavy breath, then took a step forward and started walking, completely ignoring Kong Yu. Kong Yu looked on, bewildered, reaching out as if to say something, but not daring to call out to her. He could only watch her leave. Even though he had gone to great lengths to get her to come out, seeing her in such a state, Kong Yu really didn't dare to say anything more. Soon, only Kong Yu was left standing there, looking very desolate. He began to recall what had just happened, a thoughtful expression on his face. After a moment, he said to himself in surprise, "Hiss. Could it be? Tong Yining has fallen for Zhou Hong." After figuring it out, Kong Yu's expression became pained. He really didn't understand why all the few good-looking girls in the class were connected to Zhou Hong. First it was Tang Ji, then Yi Mingran, and now even Tong Yining, whom Zhou Hong had chased for 2 years without success, was starting to like him. He didn't get it. What charm did that Zhou Hong have? Was he worse than him? In what way? Although he was very unconvinced now, given the current situation, he knew he had no chance with Tong Yining. It was probably going to end in failure again. Maybe I should just pursue girls from other classes. Yi Mingran's phone buzzed. She took it out and saw it was a message from Tang Ji. "How much longer until you guys get here?" Tang Ji is asking how long we'll be, Yi Mingran said, looking up at Zhou Hong because she didn't know where Tang Ji's house was. Zhou Hong glanced at her and said, "Don't bother replying. We're already downstairs." After speaking, he pointed to the residential building in front of them and walked in first. Yi Mingran quickly followed, but still replied to Tang Ji, "We're here." They took the elevator to the designated floor. As soon as they stepped out of the elevator, Yi Mingran saw an open door with Tang Ji standing in the doorway, waiting for them. Upon seeing Tang Ji, Yi Mingran immediately broke into a smile and waved to her. Tang Ji also smiled and waved back. The two of them were like old friends who had known each other for years. Then, Tang Ji shouted into the house, "Mom, Zhou Hong and the others are here. Coming." A woman's voice responded from inside, followed by the sound of slippers hastily approaching the door. In the next second, a woman appeared behind Tang Ji. She was a little shorter than Tang Ji, but her overall temperament was vastly different. That gentle and elegant aura was impossible to hide. Yi Mingran could tell at a glance that Tang Ji's dark, deep eyes were inherited from her mother. Their eyes were practically identical. Subconsciously, she also made a mental comparison with Zhou Heng's mother. Although it was impolite, at least in her personal opinion, she still felt that Zhou Heng's mother was prettier. Zhou Heng bowed slightly and greeted, "Auntie, I've come to freeload a meal." Tang Ji's mother, Zhou Yalan, saw the two people at the door and immediately beamed. "Uh-huh, good, good. You must be little Mingran, right?" Yin Mingran quickly bowed and replied softly, "Yes, hello, Auntie. My name is Yin Mingran." "Yes, yes, good child, come in, come in." Zhou Yalan had already prepared slippers, gesturing for the two to enter the house. Yin Mingran followed behind Zhou Heng into the house. "You two go play for a while. I'll go cook. We'll have lunch soon." Zhou Yalan tied on her apron and went to the kitchen to prepare the meal. Yin Mingran glanced at the kitchen counter, which was piled high with ingredients, leaving her particularly surprised. It looked like the spread her family used to have for New Year's and holidays, not at all like a simple home-cooked meal. So she quickly put down her things and followed into the kitchen, saying, "Auntie, let me help you. I can help with the prep work. I won't get in the way." As she spoke, she rolled up her sleeves, intending to help. Zhou Yalan was stunned for a moment. Then a gentle, warm smile appeared on her lips, her eyes full of tenderness. "No wonder Tang Ji said that once you arrived, I would definitely like you. You're such a sensible child. And he doesn't need help. You go and play." Tang Ji said that. Yin Mingran was slightly taken aback, scratching her head awkwardly, unsure of how to respond for a moment. Zhou Yalan, while chopping vegetables, said, "I've heard all about your situation from Tang Ji. Don't be so formal. We're all family. Treat this place like your own home." Then, she shouted toward the outside of the kitchen, "Tang Ji, come and take little Mingran to play with you." Hearing her voice, Tang Ji came to the kitchen and looked at Yin Mingran, saying, "There you are. I thought you went to the bathroom. Let's go." Tang Ji reached out, took Yin Mingran's wrist, and led her out of the kitchen. Yin Mingran recalled the conversation just now and looked at Tang Ji beside her. She still cared about what kind of person she was in Tang Ji's heart. Since Tang Ji would say such things to her mother, it meant that in Tang Ji's heart, she was held in pretty good regard, right? Yin Mingran was led by Tang Ji to her room. At that moment, Zhou Hong was sitting in a chair, looking at a manga on the desk. As soon as she entered, Yin Mingran was dazzled by the various decorations in the room. If Zhou Heng's room could be described as simple, then Tang Ji's room could be described as rich. Posters on the walls, a special display cabinet for figures, various dolls and pillows on the bed, all decorated the room into a very unique bedroom. The computer monitor in Imungran's eyes was no different from a TV. She had never seen one so big. Imungran knew that Tang Ji loved to play games. Even her keychain had small trinkets from games on it. But it seemed she had still underestimated Tang Ji's passion for games. She had always thought that it was mostly boys who loved to play games. This was the first time she had seen a girl who loved them so much. If this room belonged to a boy, she wouldn't have been surprised at all and would have thought it was normal. Whoa! Imungran couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Tang Ji sat on the bed and said softly, "Sit wherever you like. The room is a bit messy, don't mind it." Imungran chose to sit next to Tang Ji. Although the room had a lot of things, it wasn't actually messy. At this time, Zhou also closed the manga book, turned to look at Imungran, and said, "Since we're all here, I think we should start planning for the sports meet now." Zhou glanced at Tang Ji, who also nodded in agreement. The monthly exam was over now, and the sports meet at the end of the month was only a little over a week away. Many people had signed up for events with Zhou in the past few days, and he had filled them all in on the form. What needed to be decided now was the performance for the opening ceremony, and which events he and Tang Ji would sign up for. You're right. After all, I was the one who said we'd discuss the sports meet after the monthly exam. It seems the other classes have almost decided everything. We're a bit slow. Imungran had almost forgotten about such an important matter. She had a lot on her plate recently, so she had forgotten to think about it. Now that she thought about it, with the sports meet just over a week away, time did seem a bit tight, especially since nothing had been decided yet. So, do you two have any ideas? Imungran looked at Zhou and Tang Ji. She felt that these two were not easy to deal with, and she had to do a good job of balancing things, trying to treat them both equally. She had thought they would argue for a bit, but this time they surprisingly shook their heads in unison and said, "No ideas. We'll listen to you. You can just arrange it for us."